liberal or Republican. Well, if you pick a side, then you're done. You want Trump to grab your pussy or Bill Clinton to cover you in cum? Cause Hillary's a psycho, Christians are retarded, and Trump is a fag. And I wouldn't have to be here if it wasn't for my mom and dad. Make America gay again, make America gay as fuck. Cause I'm just trying to meet some dudes and get my penis sucked. And if I could get pregnant, I'd have abortions like every day. Cause if I had a pussy, it'd be so easy to get laid. Cause there's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull a strap out, then they aim it. Cause it's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull a strap out, then they aim it. And why don't Catholic priests just go out and fuck girls? It would save a ton of little boys around the world. And if God really has every single thing he needs, then why the fuck does this asshole need 10% from me? And I'm tired of paying so much goddamn income tax. 30% of my income, you didn't earn that, give that shit back. If I had to choose a hero, well it would probably be Nick Cruz. Cause the best thing about school shooters is now I don't gotta pay for your dumb kids' food. Cause it's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull the strap out, then they aim it. Cause it's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull the strap out, then they aim it. And once your daughter gets to high school, well it won't be long before she gets fucked. First she'll get her cherry popped, then she'll get cheated on, then she'll get dumped. Once she graduates high school, well good luck, cause it only gets worse. She'll be at the Halloween party as she's getting raw dog, she's dressed like a nurse. First she'll start with the white guys, oh dog trust me, she's gonna get plowed. Yeah, when she hangs out with the football team, they're gonna fuck her and pass her around. Then she'll start fucking black guys, cause they got the biggest damn dicks. And once they get that dick inside her, I bet $50 the pussy gon' rip. Cause it's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull a strap out, then they aim it. Cause it's a whole lot of gang shit, and this money ain't a goddamn thing, bitch. I got some trap homies we can hang with. First they pull the strap out, then they aim it. It's a whole lot of gang shit.
Get the fuck out of here.
Kevin, come on over here and tell him what time it is.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice, Kevin. All right, now get out of here. I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must must be missing the point. I need a coffee and a joint. I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must be missing the point. I need a coffee and a joint. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Yeah. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Coffee in the joint, come on, man. Yo, higher than an F-16 in Walgreens. Trying to find some eye drops at the bottom of the Listerine. What? Well, I'm Mr. Clean when I step on the scene. But yo, how did I get here? And what does this all mean? The last thing I remember was way back in September. Johnny had a doobie, it was groovy, full of pleasure. But I probably didn't measure the amount I should have taken. Now I'm standing on the feeling, and this feeling got me shaking. Yo, I get the bacon with my better crocker, baby. We dishing out delectables, yeah. They tasty, so yeah, it's amazing. Now come and get this slice. And if they try to take my herb, I'll say, take my wife. But Kevin, you're not married. Oh shit, it's getting scary. I'm mixing up my history, my memories are buried. And I don't have a clue what's real or imaginary. So take heed, my children, cause this story's cautionary. Yeah, I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must be missing a point. I need a coffee and a joint. I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must be missing a point. I need a coffee and a coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. What? Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Come on now. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Coffee in the joint. So I was standing in the corner of the kitchen by myself, eyeing up the pop brownies on the top shelf. I'm thinking maybe just a nibble or do, but I didn't eat dinner, so I gobbled down too. Oh shit, I fucking blew it. Yo, I got to keep this conversation fluid. Yo, too high to function. I'm feeling like a clown at a funeral luncheon. I'm a goner, man, I've reached my marijuana maximum consumption. Yeah, goddamn hors d'oeuvre, threw my knife for a curve. But I could be the hero that this party deserves. So I boot and rally, sink the last cup. Turns out it was my team's cup. Fuck, I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must be missing a point. I need a coffee and a joint. I got this feeling inside, can't find no balance in my mind. I must be missing a point. I need a coffee and a joint. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. What? Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. All right. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Kevin, what? Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Yeah. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. All right. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Yeah. Coffee in the joint, coffee in the joint. Coffee in the joint. Yo, that's right. Let's take them out. Man, I'm terrible at smoking weed.
That's okay. I'll handle it. Thanks, yo.
Sugar Shack gonna take us like way far. It's like S to the UGAR. Sugar Shack gonna take us like way far. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good morning. Oh my God. Hold on. Did any of you happen to catch any of the recent Pretty Antisocial podcasts? They had a song on there done all up in pink. And I'm going to play it for you because I found it on YouTube. Actually, I didn't found it. It found me. It found me. Hold on here. Also, if you haven't, holy shit, please go check out Corndiff's new channel. What is happening here? Here we go. All right, are you guys ready? I'm ready. I've been ready. This is fucking hilarious. I love AI.
From a town in Minnesota came a stranger on the net. Said he'd come to tell folks all about the law and heard be deaf.
I wish it came with lyrics.
Many people seemed to like him, and he seemed to like them back. But the stranger there among them had a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack. Now the stranger had an audience he was never gonna stop. He kept grifting hard on YouTube, he was headed for the top.
Not for nothing, I love Big Iron by Marty Robbins.
One thing would cause a stumble, yes, one thing would hold him back. For the stranger there among them had a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack.
Why does it gotta be so catchy?
Now the stranger, he had money, he could really go to town. He bought coke and then invited his friend and his friend's wife round. Many hours they spent there swinging, many hours in the love shack, while the stranger there among them had a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack. Once the public heard about this, they were fearful for the kids. So the sheriff, he was summoned, and the stranger flipped his lid. When they said his kid showed evidence of coke, or maybe crack, and the stranger there among them had a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack. On the net there lived an outlaw who was named Jersh Connor Moon. Battle hardened from the farms and battle weary from the rooms. Yet he fought to see the footage of the moment cops attacked, when the stranger there among them had a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack. Well, the farmer and the stranger are still fighting till this day. And although the famous footage has become both late and gay, folks still hope that they will see it just to see the stranger crack. Yes, the stranger there among them with a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack. Yes, the stranger there among them with a Baldo on his sack. Baldo on his sack.
For those of you out there who says AI doesn't make art, I give you example one. Want to see a good one that captures the Aaron mugshot aura? Absolutely. Oh, is this Sin City?
Come on, you son of a bitch. Damn, he's slick.
What is this? It is Sin City.
Is that the best you can do, creep?
That's right, get personal, get close, I can take it.
I got you, you little bastard. Let's see you hop around now.
I try to slow my heart down and breathe the fire out of my lungs. My muscles make me 1,000 promises of pain to come.
Let me do it, Marv. She was my sister. Let me finish him.
You wasn't supposed to come down here, Wendy.
Oh, but I want to.
I'm sorry, kid, but I haven't even started with this creep. And I don't want you watching the rest. It'll give you nightmares. God, I gotta tell you, I'm good bushed. It's not that fight of ours that did me in either. It's all that sawing and tying. It's not as easy as it looks. Could have been a real mess around here if I didn't have that tubing for tourniquets. I gotta admit, there was a spurt or two. You get the scent in the air. You get that friend of yours to come running. Well, what do you know? Look who's here. Here he comes. He's a good dog. He doesn't scream. Not even when the mutt's had its fill and Kevin's guts are lying all over the place. And somehow the bastard is still alive, still staring at me. Not even when I grab the saw and finish the job.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was perfect. That looks just like him too. Creepy as fuck. God, I need to watch that movie again. It's been a long time. Gotta love it. I think I watched Sin City right when it came out, and that was the last time I watched Sin City. I only seen it that one time. I could give it another watch, probably. Is Sin City Quentin Tarantino, or is that a Rodriguez film? What's up, Theo Dog? Hello, Goddess. Would there be a chance to be your online dog, please? Oh, shit. Well, it is a Robert Rodriguez film. There is rigorous testing involved in being my dog. Here's the thing. You gotta be a cat. We have to be a dog who identifies as a cat. If that's a possibility. I would even do dog tricks at your command on a video call to amuse you, Goddess. Oh my gosh. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, dude. I have low self-esteem. That sounds wonderful. Iced coffee is delicious, but it's melting at a rapid rate. That's my bad. That is my bad. Because I didn't put it in an insulated cup. Stay. Sit. Shit on the carpet. Yeah. I do have an Instagram. I do. Got me one of them fancy Instagrams. Good job. That's awesome. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, I was looking at my Instagram. I don't use it often. Let's see. I don't use it so often to the tune as I don't know my own fucking tag. I think it's just Little Lemmy. Little_Lemmy. It's just a black and white picture of me, dog. May message on you there, Goddess, about being your dog? Listen. That is very sweet. It's very endearing. But I don't think it would be healthy for either of us. You know what I mean? I do have an old man. I don't think he'd appreciate that. I am incredibly flattered, beyond belief, though. Truly. May I point you into the direction of a one Miss Dirty Dalish? She's adorable. And she might want a new little puppy dog. Dirty Dalish. Look her up. She's awesome. Dalish. He just wants to sniff my crotch. I mean, well, that'll only take about 10 seconds, so. Dalish is fun, and she's smart, and she's cute. And she's really into comic books and stuff. And elves. She is super sweet. And she might, she'd probably... It'd be more of a shot for you. Where did Dalish go? Is she still going? I'm not real sure. I haven't seen her in a while. I think she's streaming on YouTube. A one Ms. Dirty Dalish. Oh, that bitch. I got a couple of videos that I'd like to watch with y'all today. I've actually got an Ants Canada video that I'd like to watch with you guys today. It's from a long time ago. Check it out. I caught the strangest queen ant I've ever seen. We're gonna watch that today. Excited about it. This one's for me. This one's not for you. This one's for me. The Cult of the Weirwood. Also, I've got this, Binging with Babish. We don't watch too much Binging with Babish, but this one caught my eye. Tyler's Bullshit from The Menu. Have you guys seen The Menu? It's a terrible movie, but it's worth a watch, for sure. The story is so cool. The acting is terrible, but the movie is okay. It's good. Oh yeah, we didn't watch this one yesterday. You guys really don't seem to like Big Tug, so I think I might phase out Big Tug. Did you guys hear that Diddy skirted 3 of the 5 charges? Like 3 of the worst charges? Did you guys see this? You hear about this? I don't know why I'm surprised. I don't know why anybody's surprised. The one with, yes, the one with Oprah yesterday, yeah. I love the guy. I think he's hilarious. So I guess I'll just watch him on my time, like the Weirwood Tree stuff. No big. No big. He is a bit of a spaz. I will admit that. You liked it? Okay. You know what? Tug's back in. I'll tell you this. There's one opinion in here that will trump everybody else's. That's Ran. Just FYI. If everybody in the chat was like, yeah, hang him. Hang Big Tug. Fuck him. And Ran was the only one to be like, yeah, I like him. I'd be like, all right, he's in still. Then he's in. Ha-ha. You have the power. Bottom of my grinder is just sitting in water. Not cool, not cool. All right, we already watched this one. What's up, Gathan? Morning.
I've come to talk with you again.
I wanted to like this. I wanted to like Legends of History, but I can't bring myself to. It's just too like hop aroundy. Some of it's animated, some of it's not. I don't like it. I don't even know what this is. It's just a bearing video. I usually just put all the bearing videos on my watch later. I have no idea what this even means. Where the fuck is Glastonbury? England? This one. We'll do this one. Shaka Khan.
When I say Musk, what comes to mind? Either a smell or maybe this guy. As we all attempt to understand how the absolute state of this man came to be, we might find some answers within his family, particularly his father, Errol. He's a self-proclaimed genius, a smooth-talking opportunist who may or may not have owned an emerald mine in Zambia, and a total freak who had children with his own stepdaughter. Despite this, he's still somewhat of a mysterious figure in a lot of ways, and his relationship with his son remains strained, or not, depending when you ask and who you ask. The pair are either extremely close or totally hate each other. Behind Errol's charm and various business ventures lies a history full of disturbing relationships, morally compromising decisions, and accusations that paint a picture of a man driven more by self-interest than principle. Remind you of anyone? Errol was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1946. His British mother was known for her intelligence, and his father was a sergeant in the South African military. By his early 30s, he was already a millionaire, working on large-scale industrial projects and building a reputation as a skilled problem solver. It was during that time that he met model and dietitian May Haldeman, his future ex-wife. May later recounted how Errol relentlessly pursued her, proposing repeatedly until she finally said yes. A persistence eerily reminiscent of Elon's own approach to his earlier relationships, but these days he just knocks them up and fucks off. May and Errol married in the 70s, and in 1971, their first child, Elon Musk, was born, followed by 2 more children.
What's up, W? Good morning. We're learning about how much Elon Musk and his dad fucking hate each other.
Kimball and Tosca. In the 1970s and 80s, Errol was busy with business and politics, joining and then leaving the Progressive Federal Party, who were known for advocating power sharing in South Africa through a federal constitution. But wait, what about the Emerald Mine? When was that? Ah yes, the infamous Emerald Mine story, a tale that just won't die. Did Elon's father really own an emerald mine in Zambia? According to Errol Musk, sometime back in the day, he made a classic rich guy power move and traded his plane for a stake in a rough and ready emerald mine in Zambia. Not like a glittering gem empire, mind you. More like a dusty setup where locals would show up with emeralds and walk away with just enough cash to feed their families for a month. The whole thing, Errol says, was based on a handshake deal with some Italian guy running the local airstrip. His vibe on this is like, I'm not a regular white precious gem mine owner. I'm a chill precious gem mine owner. Errol claims he made so much cash from the mine that his safe literally wouldn't shut. He's also said that some of that gemstone money helped bankroll Elon's big move from South Africa to North America, covering his education and living costs along the way. But Elon, not having it. He consistently calls the Emerald Mine tale false and annoying, insisting he made his own way with about $2,000 in his pocket and 6 figures of student debt. Elon has painted the whole thing as a persistent myth meant to downplay his hard work. To make things extra confusing, there was an old interview where Elon apparently mentioned the mine and said he tried to visit it at 15, but the trip fell apart thanks to some rookie move involving an expired passport that belonged to his brother or something like that. But Errol doubles down. He produced photos of emeralds he say came from the mine, and he insisted that Elon knows all about it. According to Errol, Elon just doesn't want to be seen as a trust fund kid. Critics point out that if the mine stuff is true, it smells a little bit like old school colonial plundering, a la Cecil Rhodes, you know. But Errol's response, well, he said, half of my colleagues were killed. All of my colleagues got malaria, yellow fever, blackwater fever, and more. One was eaten by a crocodile. Are the silly little Western wimps of today able to understand all this? I doubt it. To date, no actual mine has been found, no paperwork has surfaced up, and not a single one of Elon's companies will touch the story with a 10-foot pole. So I don't know, who knows? Who's covering up what? Or not covering anything at all? I don't know. But possible emeralds and apartheid stuff aside, it's Errol's relationships that are the most weird and oh my god, this guy is so cooked. Oh. Errol and May divorced in 1979 when Errol cheated on her. Yeah, this guy cheated on his supermodel wife of 9 years. I wish I was surprised, but I'm not. He once told Business Insider South Africa, I screwed up the marriage. I was totally responsible. It didn't work out too well in the end. My former wife doesn't speak to me. Even when we're together, she won't speak to me. So we haven't spoken to one another for 37 years. She won't speak to me or engage me if we're in the same room, which we have been often. In her memoir titled A Woman Makes a Plan, May alleged instances of verbal and physical abuse. Describing Errol as controlling and cruel, she recounted a life of fear and humiliation, recalling one moment in particular where a 5-year-old Elon attempted to stop his father from beating his mother. In 2019, she said, everybody I knew called him the pig because he treated me so badly in public. Errol refutes these claims, maintaining that he always treated May with respect and care, even going as far as to say this.
She made all that up.
You think so?
Yeah, she made all that up.
I'm not even gonna comment. Errol also reckons he's important enough that her claims are an attempt to turn the public against him. Yeah, you're doing that just fine on your own actually, mate. Following the divorce, Elon chose to live with his father, a decision he would later deeply regret. Errol went on to be briefly married to a woman named Sue, and in the early 1990s, when he was aged 45, he married Heidi Benoisenhout, a 25-year-old he described as one of the best-looking women I've ever seen in my life. Heidi already had children from a previous relationship, including a daughter named Jana, who became Errol's stepdaughter at the age of 4. Go and get a sick bag. So in 2017, this fucking freak made global headlines for his relationship with his own stepdaughter who had his child. Errol recounts how Jana, at 29, reached out to him during a period of severe financial and personal hardship for help. He graciously provided financial support, like you would expect from your rich father who raised you since the age of 4. Years later, Errol described the relationship as a moment of passion and confessed they had a child together. In a sensational interview with Mail Online, Errol said he could barely remember Jana's mother Heidi, despite the fact that the couple were married for years and they have 2 children together. In regards to the existence of the child, he also said, I told my daughter Ali about him because I thought she would be supportive and understanding. She said I was insane, mentally ill. She told the others and they went berserk. They think I'm getting senile and should go into an old age home, not have a life full of fun and a tiny baby.
Bruh.
First of all, ooh. Second of all, why would you be surprised that everyone else in your family, especially your other daughter, aren't being supportive? Fucking freak! It's even more fucked up than you think. Errol Musk and his second wife, Heidi, went on to have 2 daughters together, Alexandra and Asher. Elon and his brother Kimball eventually moved in with Errol and Heidi, where the family made an effort to treat all of the children equally, regardless of whether they were biological biological or stepchildren. So for Elon, the vibe is very much your dad got your sister pregnant. And in a twist that seems to somehow only be surprising to Errol himself, it tore his family apart and caused a massive rift between himself and Elon. And if that wasn't enough, he went on to have a second child with his stepdaughter. And his reasoning for it will make your skin crawl. In an interview with The Sun, he said, "The only thing we are on Earth for is to reproduce." Elon reportedly went berserk when he learned that his stepsister was having his father's child, 'cause it's fucking gross and weird. I would go berserk too. Elon has also described his childhood as painful and isolated, and he said his father was largely absent and talked down to him a lot. He told Rolling Stone through tears, "He was such a terrible human being, you have no idea. My dad will have a carefully thought out plan of evil. He will plan evil. Almost every crime you can possibly think of, he has done. Almost every evil thing you could possibly think of, he has done. It's so terrible, you can't believe it." In 2018, it was reported that the two hadn't spoken in over 18 months, but Errol, being an ignorant freak, still didn't seem to understand why anyone would have any sort of problem with him. He said, "I don't know what Elon's anger is caused by. It has been ongoing since we left the USA against his will in 2003.
What's up, why not? Good morning, dude. We're learning about Elon Musk and his daddy issues. His daddy's got a lot of issues. I guess he had a few kids with his stepdaughter. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. What's up, Life of Am? Good morning. I hope you heard exactly what I just said.
Them to school in a convertible Rolls Royce. They had thoroughbred horses to ride and motorbikes at the age of 14. They were spoiled, I suppose. Maybe that's why Elon is acting like a spoiled child now. That comment about 2003 refers to when Elon moved his family to Malibu after he got rich, and Errol and his wife just gapped it in the night at some point, apparently. But more recently, Errol has tried to make it clear that him and Elon are totally fine, even though he made comments about Elon being a bad father, something this fucking freak would know a lot about. But despite that, he says that him and Elon, they've actually always been on good terms. Okay, I don't think that, but okay. Errol Musk's politics are fucked. I feel like I might not even need to say that. But he isn't your typical Trump supporter. On a podcast, he veered into conspiracy territory, claiming, without irony, that Michelle Obama is transgender and suggested that Joan Rivers was killed for joking about it. He also echoed debunked claims about the 2020 election, alleging that 15 million votes were missing. He speculated that Elon's political shift from supporting Hillary Clinton in 2016 to backing Trump's 2024 campaign with over $250 million was fueled by a post-election snub. According to Errol, Elon was outraged when Biden hosted an EV summit and didn't invite Tesla. Despite the wild claims, Errol says he and Elon remain in contact and added, not so subtly, that his son recently gifted him a Bentley. So what did we learn? It's clear this guy is honestly awful. He's awful. I wanted to say something more intellectual here, but he actually makes me feel like really uncomfortable and uneasy. So does Errol Musk explain Elon Musk? Not entirely, but when you peel back the layers, childhood chaos, disturbing relationships, unchecked egos, casual cruelty, you start to see the blueprint. A man obsessed with control, legacy, and being the smartest guy in the room no matter what the cost. Errol isn't just a footnote in Elon's origin story. He's a mirror, cracked, warped, and uncomfortable to look into. And maybe that is the most revealing part of all. Because if you really want to understand Elon Musk, you might need to start with the man he never wants to become, but maybe already has. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, make sure you subscribe. We do 5 videos a week on everything happening all around the world in the news and on the...
Yeah, I don't care, bitch. Let's see what else we got. Oh, yeah, ants. We'll wait for Mikey. Let's watch this bearing.
Well, there's been a major win for free speech
I'll be right
in
back.
this country. Hallelujah. The E-Safety Commissioner, the Chief Censor herself, Julian Marn Grant, had attempted to silence Chris Elston, known online as Billboard Chris, by ordering him to take down a social media post on X criticising the World Health Organisation for appointing trans activist Teddy Cook to an expert panel. Chris took on the chief censor and has won.
We've had a win, boys. Not a huge win, but a win nonetheless. I'll take it. Billboard Chris has defeated Australia's e-safety commissioner in his court battle surrounding a tweet about a degenerate trans person who was appointed to some, like, transgender health board in Australia. So I did a couple of videos about this, like, a year ago. Billboard Chris, well-known Canadian advocate against, like, grooming kids, I want to say. You know, pumping them full of puberty blockers, that sort of thing. Misgendered this biological woman called Teddy Cook. So Teddy Cook's like a trans man. But Billboard Chris pointed out, hey look, this person is on this like transgender health board, and if you look at their social media history, they're into like drug-fueled orgies and bestiality. No shit, bestiality. What the fuck are you doing, Australia? And instead of saying like, yeah, this person is kind of fucked, the e-safety commissioner said, how dare you misgender this person? I am going to remove your tweet, good sir. So Billboard Chris said, nah, fuck you, took her to court and fucking won. Good times. We're going to talk about it. Let's go!
Hearing.
Ew, I don't like that. Delete. And I don't like that. Delete. Oh, wow. So that's the e-safety commissioner.
Yep, real name Julie Inman Grant, a disgruntled former Twitter employee with ties to the World Economic Forum. We pay her $450,000 a year.
No! Delete! Whoa, so she can delete anything from the internet?
Pretty much. She started just deleting this dangerous, harmful stuff, but now we just let her delete whatever she wants.
Misgendering? Delete?
Doing great, Julie.
That's part of a cartoon from Senator Pauline Hanson's Please Explain series. And while it is comical, it's not that far from the truth. This woman, this American woman, has pretty much been given free rein to censor the internet in Australia as she sees fit. And actually, she's trying to do more than that. She's trying to censor the internet everywhere. See, she was appointed, not elected, by a so-called conservative government in like 2016, 17, something like that. And she started out as like the kids' e-safety commissioner, something to that effect. And most people were like, yeah, that's a good cause. We got to protect the kids. But ever so quietly, over the years, she kind of took the kids part away from her office title, and now she's just like the protector of everyone's online activity in Australia. It's absolutely fucked. And it's pretty much what she says goes. And let me tell you, she is evil.
I think we're going to have to think about a recalibration of a whole range of human rights that are playing out online, you know, from freedom of speech to the freedom to, you know, to be free from online violence.
Here she is being questioned about that exact quote at the World Economic Forum summit thing, Davos. Is it Davos?
One wondering, when you talked about recalibrating free speech a couple of years ago, what were you referring to?
I am talking about balancing a range of rights that everyone has a right to online.
Where do you think freedom of expression online should be limited?
When it undermines other people's freedom of expression and causes significant harm. But that's all I have to say.
But that's a subjective term. Like, who's to adjudicate what harm is? Is it governments?
Well, actually, it is the government drew the line on what the threshold was, and an investigation is taken when somebody reports to a platform. When it doesn't conform to their terms of service, they come to us to adjudicate.
Do you believe that the First Amendment has too high a bar for the online era?
The First Amendment does not apply in Australia.
Oh, the First Amendment does not apply in Australia. Fuck off. I mean, technically, yeah, she's right. But the fucking gall of this woman, you know, I couldn't censor the internet in America because of that pesky constitution thing. So I moved to Australia to put the fucking boot down on their necks. Fuck off, lady, you self-righteous, loudmouth, seppo fuck. Americans, here's a quick Australian linguistics lesson. If you've ever been called a seppo, it's a pejorative. See, here's how it works. Americans are known as Yanks, and Yank rhymes with tank. And because Americans talk so much shit, they're like septic tanks. So it's an insult. Seppo means septic tank, which means Yank, which means American. Now, I don't use that term much because I tend to like Americans. Americans are loud and boisterous, and I'm fucking loud and boisterous. We're like peas in a pod. But for this lady, totally. Seppo, fuck you. Anyway, I feel like I've gotten sidetracked. Here's Billboard Chris being interviewed about his win on Sky News.
Chris, thank you for joining me. Congratulations on your legal victory. How do you feel about it all?
I think it's tremendous. To be honest with you, I expected to win, particularly after listening to the so-called experts that the e-safety commissioner had brought to the hearing.
I'm sorry to cut in so quickly, but experts? What do you mean experts? He called a biological female a woman. He called her she. Who exactly is the expert on this subject? And what's
up, Astro? We're watching a video about this lady who's trying to censor the internet everywhere and couldn't do it in America and got real pissy about it.
the argument? I mean, it's got to be feelings, right? It's just feelings. This degenerate woman who likes posting about drug-fueled orgies and bestiality feels like a man, feels they want to be called a man. And Julie Inman Grant, the safety commissioner, feels like Chris shouldn't be able to call her a woman.
But this was really a total destruction. All of their expert evidence was basically dismissed. My lawyers are extremely pleased. They think this has a societal impact for all of Australia, and I think this really gives a roadmap for other activists going forward. What's really key in this is that the deputy director even quoted my own testimony where I said that because I believe sex is immutable, I'm personally convicted, I will not use incorrect pronouns to describe any person, including trans-identifying people who identify as the opposite sex. I'll use their preferred names, but I only use sex-based pronouns because I don't think it's loving, progressive, or ethical to lie to a person and affirm that they're something or not, that they're not.
Yeah, see, while I'm super duper happy about this result, I'm actually surprised. I mean, we had the Tickle versus Giggle case where the judge ruled in favour of that bloke who was trying to get onto that chicks like social media app. Australia at the moment is just not going the way of common sense. I'm really, really surprised the judge ruled like this. Like I said, it's good, but I'm surprised.
I believe that calling a man a woman and vice versa is not only untrue, but has implications for the rights and safety of women and children. And he totally accepted that. He looked at the context, he looked at my entire campaign and saw that I've been consistent in this. And my post itself was not about causing serious distress or harm to Teddy Cook. It was about bringing light to a situation where children are being harmed. And we sometimes forget that. This is all about the kids. We have children who are having their natural development stopped with puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, and they're getting surgeries because they've been taught a lie that they were born in the wrong body and need to be something they're not. That's abusive. That's the serious harm. That's what we always need to come back to. And I think for everyone battling this censorship in Australia, they can feel safe now calling a man or a woman a woman.
Yeah, see, that's good. As I said, a little win. But he mentioned there that the judge didn't think he was trying to cause serious distress or harm to Teddy Cook. Now, in my humble opinion, that's the big fight. Why can't I cause distress to Teddy Cook? Teddy Cook has told on herself repeatedly on social media. Teddy Cook, like I've been saying, is a degenerate. And if I want to call Teddy Cook a degenerate and cause, you know, just maybe a little bit of distress, then why can't I do that? That's where the real fight is. And I don't think we're going to win that fight until this e-safety commissioner is far from holding any official office.
This is the problem with the debate in this country. The e-safety commissioner, putting it aside, I mean, she's been on a...
Good news, everyone. Isaac Walmart says, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Professor Farnsworth. Maybe based, but I think the government should stay the fuck out of anything medical. I can't disagree. I can't.
Censorship warpath, but the ruling found that you had not intended to harm anyone. And this
I couldn't agree more.
This is the problem, because we should be allowed to have genuine conversations and genuine debate about what is going on in society, and that of course includes the gender debate, without being threatened with legal action and told that we're causing harm.
Yeah, this presenter's like almost there. We should be able to have these debates, but if we're talking about fucking words, then we should be able to cause harm. How about fuck you? Is that too harmful? Are you being affected by my harm, Teddy Cook? Are you being affected by my harm, e-safety commissioner? Good. Fuck you.
Right, we should be able to talk about anything in society. And when kids are coming to harm, obviously we need to talk about that more. But the tendency all across the West, not just in Australia, has been to cancel people, to fire them from their jobs, to instill this entire regime of fear being pushed by these bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats in the case of Julie Inman Grant, who only censors us in one direction, which is in favor of trans activism and against people who are talking reality and who are actually looking out for these kids and for women who are being harmed. So I think this is a tremendous victory. We're stacking up some wins against these censors across the globe. This is, I think, the third victory against the e-safety commissioner.
Brett, there's some stupid bitch in Australia trying to censor the internet for everywhere, and got real frustrated when she came to America, and we were like, you can kick rocks, you stupid fucking bitch. Why don't you go ahead and you read our Constitution and see what's number one, bitch.
They keep throwing money at this, though, because they have inexhaustible resources, but we have something they don't have. We have the truth, and we're just going to keep spreading it because the truth spreads for free.
Yeah, look, I have to give him the win. This was epic. I mean, they do seem to be losing case after case, and it's fucking fantastic. So I'll leave it there. I thought I'd just do a quick update because I spoke about this like a year ago. If anything else comes up surrounding this, I'll talk about it. I cannot stand this e-safety commissioner. It's only a matter of time before she makes some more waves. If you have any comments, leave them down below or at my Twitter. It's at bear_ing. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Ta-ta, bye-bye.
Recession, give me better times. Recession, give me better times.
Same, Astro. I love it so much. All right, let's see what else we got here. Again, Cult of the Weirwood Tree, that's for me. That's not for you. That's for me. Okay. Oh, wait, we're supposed to wait for Mikey. All right, let's see this. Yeah, we get it. You're a big-time author, Babish.
Wow. It's actually quite bad.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at Tyler's bullshit from The Menu. One of the more harrowing foodie film experiences that prods...
You guys might not get this if you haven't seen The Menu. If you haven't, and you got a little time soon, go watch that movie. It's decent. It's worth a watch. Terrible acting, but great movie nonetheless.
Us in our collective imposter syndrome and lets us vicariously experience our worst nightmare, getting up on stage and having no idea what you're doing. So first up, the protein in question, lamb, which is Frenched and cut into double chops. Now, I don't want to waste too much lamb on the screen accurate version, so I'm only going to do 3 ribs. To French these, we want to place a cut across the point where we want the bones to end, then continue cutting between the bones and the skin to remove. Then we're going to cut the thin...
Me too, Darius. Well, are you really shocked, Darius? Are you really shocked? Because I'm not. I'm not shocked at all. Not even a little. That's just the way she blows, boys. He's super duper famous, and he probably is working for a government agency. You know what I mean?
Strips
Let's get real.
And sinew from between the bones, right down to the point of the initial cut, and try to remove as much of the lamb from the now exposed bones as possible before beginning to scrape the bones with your knife to remove the thin final membrane. Once the bones are uniform color and squeaky clean, you got yourself a Frenched rack of ribs, from which I'm going to remove the skin and excess fat from the top and separate into individual chops. I know that Tyler's were double chops, but I don't ultimately think that's going to make a big difference. Next up, the leek, which was simply sliced. Tyler used the entire unwashed leek, but because leeks interiors are so dirty, I'm going to stop there for the sake of sheer edibility. Next up, the shallots, which were haphazardly chopped, some with the skin still on. And lastly, a big hunk of butter dropped into too hot a pan. Once that's good and melted and maybe slightly burned, I'm going to start by adding my double aromatic combo of shallots and leeks, allowing these to cook for an indeterminate period of time until they're, I don't know, softened or something. Then, in amongst the vegetables, we're going to add the lamb, making an attempt to nestle it down between the other stuff so that it can boil in butter and at least gesturally be cooked. After about 3 to 5 minutes, just enough time so that the lamb picks up some nice gray color and it's definitely not cooked through, we're heading straight to plating. No seasoning nor garnish is necessary. Arrange the chops over top, and there you have it, Tyler's bullshit, which, while it has its shortcomings, is on the table in less than 20 minutes. But how's it taste? I'm going to make myself a bite here of the very rare lamb and the partially cooked leek, and I can tell you that Chef Slovik's critiques were really spot on. It's really quite bad. Raw lamb, runny butter, and dirty vegetables. So can we make something salvageable out of these star ingredients? I'm going to start by filling an ice cube tray with with olive oil in a seemingly random pattern and throwing those in the freezer to solidify for at least a few hours. While that's happening, we can take the very necessary step of cleaning our leeks. After cutting off the roots on the bottom, trimming them to a uniform length, and slicing them in half lengthwise, we're going to rinse them thoroughly in a big old bowl of water. As you can see, there's a huge amount of yuck that we don't want to end up in our yum. Now, once we've patted the leeks dry, we're going to place them in a vac-sealed bag. Then we're going to fill the spaces in between the leeks with a sliced preserved lemon, which has a much more mellow flavor than its fresh counterpart, 2 large cloves of crushed garlic, and our olive oil ice cubes, which we froze so we could more easily vac-seal the bag without all the liquid getting sucked out. And since it wouldn't be a chefy dish without some sous vide, that's where these guys are headed, a 185-degree Fahrenheit water bath for 40 minutes, during which time we can prep our lamb, which I'm going to roast and crust. I want to keep the predominant color of the dish green, so I'm pulsing 2 cups of pistachios in a food processor until they're coarsely ground, and tossing them with a half cup of panko breadcrumbs. The roast itself is getting the same French ribs treatment, and before crusting, it's going to get lightly seasoned with kosher salt, rubbed down with a little bit of vegetable oil, and seared in a ripping hot cast iron skillet. Just enough on each side to introduce a little color, Maillard reaction, and by extension flavor to its exterior, so blast it as quickly and as hotly as you possibly can. Then once it's cooled off for about 10 minutes, we're going to brush down the meat evenly with a mixture of 2 parts white miso to 1 part Dijon mustard. This is going to act as a delicious glue with which to adhere our pistachio breadcrumb mixture. Then this guy's getting placed on a rack set in a rim baking sheet, temperature probed at its thickest point, and roasted at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until it registers 125. Now to cover the shallot's presence, we're finely mincing a shallot, crushing up 1 clove of black garlic, and finely mincing 2 tablespoons of tarragon in preparation to make a black garlic béarnaise. Then our olive oil poached leeks are coming out of the hot tub, getting removed from the bag and patted dry of excess oil with a paper towel, because we're going to lightly grill these leeks to finish them. But true to form, we have to go way over the top, so I thought we'd utilize some binchotan, the fussy, long-burning, and odorless Japanese charcoal. So we're going to let our leeks sizzle over top that, cut side down, while we make our béarnaise. Into a small pot goes our single finely minced shallot, half of our chopped fresh tarragon, and 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar. We're bringing this to a gentle simmer and cooking until barely a tablespoon of syrupy liquid remains. Set that aside to cool completely before placing it into a large heat-proof bowl, along with 2 large egg yolks that we're going to whisk together into a smooth mixture, before bringing it back over to the stovetop where we have a pan of shallow simmering water at the ready. Turn the heat all the way down, place the bowl over top, and whisk constantly for 5 to 7 minutes until the mixture is thickened and nearly doubled in volume. Then, both to make it béarnaise and to incorporate the final missing ingredient from Tyler's dish, we're starting to stream in 12 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 little splash at a time, whisking thoroughly between each addition to make sure that it's fully incorporated and so that the sauce doesn't break. Once all the butter's added, kill the heat, season with salt, and whisk in our crushed clove of black garlic. Now there's a butter and shallot sauce I can get behind. Once the leeks are nearly done and the lamb has rested for 10 minutes, it's time to carve, plate, and serve. First, let's see if our lamb is a pleasant medium rare. Before carving, as desired, I'm going with 2 double chops. To plate, we're going to plop down a generous gob of our black garlic béarnaise, and it just wouldn't be a tasting menu without one of these chefy smears. Then I'm trimming the rough ends off the leeks and pulling out everything but the outer 2 most layers, which are tough and stringy, placing them on the plate, of course, with tweezers. Arrange the lamb over top in a haphazard yet intentional way, and of course we got to utilize some microgreens, this time by virtue of some smaller tweezers. I'm going to sort of dot those around the varying culinary topography. Then I think this dish is going to need a little bit of acid and a little bit of heat. Luckily, Alvin left some pickled bird's eye chili in the fridge, which I think is going to add just the right amount of bite to cut through all the richness. And there you have it, the hopefully edible version of Tyler's bullshit. Leeks, lamb, shallots, and butter all proudly on display. But how's it taste? And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but it's really very good. The black garlic béarnaise is a perfect pairing with the lamb. The olive oil poached leeks are tender and flavorful. The microgreens, as always, do virtually nothing. And the brightness of the pickled chilies provide a flavorful contrast. Would Chef Slovic like it? Probably not. I'm guessing you'd find all them kinds of things wrong with it. But he is a miserable psychopath, and I'm over here eating lamb like it's lollipops.
That looked delicious. Again, if you haven't seen the menu, please go see the menu. Go watch that fucking movie. It's so good. All right, now we're gonna watch about how Oliver Anthony's wife tried to fucking take all of his money after he got famous. How fucked up is that?
I'm sure you've seen this guy on social media. His name is Oliver Anthony. He's a viral sensation, a country singing star, working class guy. Came out with a song that went absolutely nuclear. I think it got millions of views. Joe Rogan actually talked to this guy, and his wife is trying to take him for everything. He got some fame, and now she's trying to cut and run. I got a banger from Ace Nate. Let's get straight into it.
Oliver Anthony has no money, right? He's poor. He's selling farm equipment. He puts his song on YouTube. He's a fucking superstar, right? He doesn't know what to do. He freaks out. He asks me for advice. I call him on the phone. We have a conversation for like a fucking hour where I go, don't sign anything with anybody. And he's like, they're telling me I have to strike while the iron's hot. I go, bullshit. They're trying to steal money from you. I go, you're independent. You're already there. You already made it. I know if you wrote that song, I'm like, if you wrote that song, you could write a dozen of those fucking songs. You don't need anybody. He's like, they're offering me $7 million. I go, no. They're offering to steal money from you for the rest of your life. That's what they're doing.
Yes, 1,000%. It's good that Joe Rogan gave him that advice because a lot of artists, new artists especially, when they get some newfound fame, they get into what is called a 360 deal. Have any of you guys heard of this? Put a 1 in the chat if you have. From my understanding, I could be wrong, but basically they give you a ton of money up front, but they own everything. They own all the publishing rights. They own all the records you've cut. They own everything. Really, the only way you make money is if you were touring and putting butts in seats. These 360 deals.
Even then, you're not even guaranteed your money. There's a lot of that. Like, go look at NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. Even their stadium performances, they weren't really getting a whole hell of a cut of that. They owed money on those.
Tons of rappers, tons of artists are in them. I think Michael Jackson even talked about it. He's like, I own nothing. Sony owns everything. And that's the point. They want to give you a lot of money up front so you feel like you're rich, you feel like you're glamorous, you feel like you've made it. But then on the back end, you own nothing. You don't own any of your masters. You don't own anything. So therefore, you just have to rely on touring. And touring is very, it's grueling. Being on the road constantly, not being around your family, that stuff would suck, man.
I go, you don't need them. You have talent. So cut to, he starts making millions of dollars, doing arenas. The wife divorces him. She wants everything. She wants everything.
Whoa.
She wants more than half. She wants all the money that he's going to be making in the future because she was with him when he was broke. So she.
Oh my God, that's wild.
What's up, Oscar Electric? We are watching a video here about how that Oliver Anthony guy, the north of Richmond dude. Apparently his ex-wife is trying to take him for all he's got now that he's got a little bit of money. And we're just learning about that. It's just mundane over here today, man. Ain't nothing spectacular going on.
It's fucking crazy. He's just tortured.
What a fucking idiot.
Wants to die. Wants to die. And he writes this song.
Really? Yeah. Well, he just wrote the...
Yo.
What's crazy, though, is this goes completely against the advice I've always given. Find a woman who's a villager. You build the kingdom, right? And then you get to reap the rewards. This is like a slap in the face to that. Because that's what I did. I was a villager. I met Cass when she was a villager. We built the kingdom together, and now I'm a king. She's a queen in her own right. And now we get to reap the benefits of all of our spoils. Oliver Anthony, it looks like he did that, but he got the success so quick that she saw it as a get-out strategy. So he was like, oh, great. He basically hit the lottery. Now I can take all this money and then the future money. It's like, it just showcases a lot of the crazy greed that a lot of modern women have. It's wild to me. This is actually nuts.
Just ethered his wife. Oh my God!
That was Nas to Jay-Z.
What a diss track,
bro! That's the craziest diss track of all time.
It's coming out so funny. Every divorced dude on earth is gonna be just fucking.
The judge says 50-50, but the math don't seem right to a scorned woman.
Woo-wee. I don't know about you, but I'm very tired of hearing this excuse that if a woman was with a man when he wasn't making much money, she automatically deserves a huge chunk when he finally makes it, and then
yeah, bro, no way, absolutely not, bro, no, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it at all. The universe owes you nothing. The universe does not owe you understanding, and you don't really deserve anything from this. But Oliver Anthony's getting played like a fiddle, poor guy. I feel bad for him because he's just a simple guy, and it looks like he got married for love, and then as soon as he got some clout, as soon as he got some money, she wanted to cut and run. This is why you got to be so careful, man. This is just pure proof that even though you're with a woman when you are poor or when you haven't made it, if you haven't really done the digging and the talking and the learning about each other and, even the hypotheticals, if you haven't done this talking, you really can get blindsided.
And come at me with pitchforks and torches for this one, I already know, but the bottom line is I clocked Zach Bryan way before anybody else believed that there was something wrong with that gentleman. So I'll tell you right now, I will reserve judgment on Oliver Anthony until I hear the wife's side of the story. I want the wife's side of the story because Oliver Anthony can write all the songs in the world, but that's one side of the story. I want the wife's side of the story because scornful woman, I want to hear from the scornful woman, because I have a feeling there's more to it than just a song and a little bit of money.
A little bit of money. Baby girl, we talking about millions of dollars. A little bit of cash. Just, can you bless me with something?
We'll pause that real quick. And we will go, where are we at here? Here you go, Oscar.
Combs' supporters celebrated with baby oil and cheers, but others called the verdict an injustice. Addie Guajardo has their reaction.
Press, spectators, and streamers packed in closely outside of court for hours, waiting for a final court ruling in the Diddy trial. Moments filled with support. Free pop! Free pop! Baby oil, a key piece in the trial, and outrage.
It's an atrocity. It's a disgusting decision.
The jury acquitted Sean Diddy Combs of the most serious counts.
The charges were too excessive.
And found him guilty of 2 lesser charges for transportation to engage in prostitution. Cassie Ventura, Combs' former girlfriend, testified for 4 days about her rocky relationship with Combs and described in detail instances she says Combs physically abused her.
I was definitely hoping for him to be charged with the trafficking.
Ashley Potter says the jury ruling sent a clear message to women across the country.
I think it stays the same, that we're expected to stay quiet or deal with it, because there's not really any justice.
But Katie Kessner, the executive director of Take Back the Night, disagrees.
I think despite the outcome of the Diddy case, it is so critical that victims and survivors not give up on speaking out, standing up, breaking the silence.
Hours after the jury ruling,
everybody was like, oh!
The judge denied Diddy bail.
And that is justice right there. He should have got found guilty on almost all of those charges.
While some called it karma, others absorbed the news.
I think he should have been released.
That's the only thing we're looking at right now. The only thing we're thinking about, focused about, is him getting home to his family, his kids, and his mom.
But for now, Diddy's team is all smiles as they pose for photos outside of court. Addie Guajardo, CBS News, New York.
And we will be following this case all the way through sentencing day. You can stay updated anytime at CBS New York.
There you go, Oscar Electric.
I don't know. Y'all are gonna crucify me, but there's just something a little bit about that guy. Listen.
About that? He's a regular, everyday, blue-collar guy. What's wrong with him? What's so about him?
Gurmy, are you asking... Aegon Targaryen looks like Daemon Targaryen? Daemon Targaryen and Aegon are brothers. They're from the same dad. If I remember correctly. Pretty sure. Aegon the king, the child king. Is that who you're talking about? Why does Rhaenyra's kid have brown hair? Because she cheated on her husband. Her husband's gay. Her husband's gay, so she cheated on her husband. They had like an arrangement, dude, where he got to fuck dudes and she got to fuck whoever she want. And so she was fucking one of the Kingsguard guys. That's why. It was like an open secret. Kind of like the Targaryen kids. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a flashback. What's up, Keena K? Morning.
Have you seen Oliver Anthony, bro? He's like a normal dude.
I like Richmond, north of Richmond, as much as anybody else. It is a blue-collar anthem. Probably always will be. But there's something off about this. I want the wife's story. I want the wife's story.
She's probably... The thing is, the wife is probably never going to come out with her story because she knows she's an idiot.
You stupid.
You had a chance to get with this guy when he wasn't nothing. Now you can get his loyalty, but now you want to cut and run. Greed. Greed, that's what it is. Nothing but greed. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. This woman is just completely greedy. She's seeing him as an exit strategy, and it seems like she was with him on bad faith from the jump. She maybe saw some potential. This is where a lot of women get with men based on their potential and not who they are at that time. A lot of women do this. It's a slippery slope, though. It's very risky.
Women were taught to do this. Did Damon fuck Alicent Hightower? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Why do you ask?
Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. It's a gamble. And gambles don't always insinuate a W. You don't always win when you go on slot machines and do that max bet. I need a max win. You don't always win those. If anybody that's gambled, you know what I'm talking about. You go on there, you max bet, and you lose it all. Sometimes it happens. And sometimes relationships are like that. You got to bet on somebody, but you got to do the work. So many people get in relationships and they don't do the work. They don't talk through things. They don't get to the bottom of their feelings. Maybe they just work all the time, and it becomes like a routine. You almost become a roommate to the person that you fell in love with. Chat, have you seen this? Have you seen this happen? People get together and they become just like roommates. They go to work. They get home. Hey, let's eat something. Okay, I'm hungry. Are you hungry? Okay, great. Like, there's really no spark anymore. There's no excitement because they haven't done the digging and talking. There's a lot of card games out there you can get on Amazon. A lot of card games you can go through and actually really get to know your partner. Cass and I did that. We went through countless amounts of things. Talked about trauma, talked about the past, talked about what we expect from the future, talked about how we feel now, talked about our emotional triggers. Oh, when you say this, I feel this way. When you do this, I feel this way. When I say this, this is what I mean versus what you're insinuating. And most of the time, it always boils down to just bad communication or poor communication. Same thing with friends. You know why people get in fights? In my opinion, in chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. The reason people get in fights and get mad at each other is because they're miscommunicating. Unless you're just outright being disrespectful, which it can happen. We be shooting some shots out here. But for the most part, it's just a miscommunication. Somebody said something, you didn't understand it correctly, and then you got mad. That's all it is. You got to communicate. You got to talk through this stuff. You got to make sure that you're hearing exactly what the other side wants you to hear. Because if you don't, you're going to get upset. You know what I'm talking about, Lokes? You have to have clear expectations for what you mean and what they hear. Typically, women listen more emotionally than men do. Men listen a little bit more logically. In my opinion, most times, men have to really watch what they say. They can't just say really what it is. You know how you talk to the boys? They're giving you an issue, you can flat out say it. With a woman, you got to soften the blow. You can't be as direct. Because if you are, they're going to get booty hurt. Going to get their feelings hurt.
I swear to fucking God. One of my biggest pet peeves in the entire fucking world is skirting around the point. Just get there. Get to the nut meat. Just rip off the fucking Band-Aid. For real. Don't tiptoe around shit. Stop walking on eggshells. Don't do that. Don't coddle your women, men. Treat them well. Respect them. Don't fucking coddle them.
They're going to feel like you got it out for them. You really got to soften.
We're not babies.
Whereas men, we have to be empathetic. Where women, they don't have to be. They can just be a man. They can just be as raw as they want.
This guy's a bitch.
In a world that's like that, I really don't think you ladies want to be men. Because we're very blunt with each other. Sometimes I'm so blunt you could smoke me. It's a horrible joke. Ain't that right, Loki? I've fallen at work and been injured. Oh, wait. I should call my lawyer.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan.
Injury could be worth millions.
Boo, dude.
Y'all know what time it is. Can we get some freeze in the chat, poor flavor?
Oscar says, this is pathetic, Lemmy. It's called communication. Exactly. It's not a complicated thing. It's a natural freaking event between two human beings. And somehow these men cannot have a good conversation with girls. You know why? It's because everybody's just basing men and women off of what they see on YouTube now. You know what I mean? People watch whatever podcast. I watch whatever podcast. I fucking love that show. I think it's hilarious. But I think some people take that to the extremes and think that those are the examples of men and women these days, and there's nothing else. Nuance is so fucking lost on the internet, it's unreal, and that's where everybody's taking their cues. You know what I mean?
Loki. Free. He's tired, bro. Loki, free. Get your jerky, dude. Making you work for it today, brother man. There you go. Ooh. Little fart jump there, huh? I see you, big dog.
It's the best part of the whole video was the dog fart.
What do y'all think about the Levi Nicks rug on there? And also, he be slobbering and licking that thing. So I'm like, bro, this at least gives me a buffer. I had to go wash it this weekend because he had licked it to death. Let's hop into
Tell
the
us more
Discord
about your
and see
fucking
what
dog.
You guys have. This episode came out on Jubilee recently. It's actually pretty
I don't
good.
think I can watch the rest of this. Is fucking stupid. This guy's oozing just beta bitch charm, and I don't like it. I don't. The dog is great. He shouldn't quit. No, the dog should keep going. The dog maybe should do a channel.
Yo, what's good? We're back with another one.
It's showtime.
So here's another angle of what Lake Caddo in Texas is experiencing after a dicot is being sprayed. Here's a video of them spraying this toxic chemical that's banned all over the world, and they're hosing it into this natural... I can't even believe that I'm watching this right now, to be honest. These guys get sick, by the way, after a few months working there. Exposure to this toxic chemical that kills all the underbrush. Whoever made this chemical, whoever still is producing this chemical, guaranteed 100% the tip top of that corporation has a lack of human biology, if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Is he trying to say they're reptilians?
Yeah, bro. Someone interviewed one.
The first species, the humanoids, had reached Earth around 150 years before the reptilians, and they built some colonies on the former continents. There was a large colony on the continent you call Antarctica today, and another one on the continent you call Asia today. These people...
You know what I think is funny is these people, the people who believe this kind of stuff will also on the other, like out of the other side of their mouths tell you that creation is too far-fetched to believe in.
Live together
Fun
with
stuff.
animal-like saurians on the planet without problems. Okay, so animal-like saurians being the dinosaurs. When the advanced reptilian species arrived in this system, a global war started within months. You must understand that both species were interested in this young planet not for its biology and underdeveloped species, but for only one reason: raw material, especially copper. To understand this reason, you must know that copper is a very important material for some advanced species, even today, because it is, together with some unstable materials, able to produce new stable elements if you induce a high electromagnetic field in the right angle with a high nuclear radiation field to produce an overcrossing of fluctuating fields. The fusion of copper and other elements in such a magnetic radiation field chamber can produce a force field of special nature.
I believe in reptilians. Our inner brain is a lizard brain. Fun fact. You can Google that. That's biological. Our inner brain, the inner part of our little brain, like here's our brain. Here's like the inner part of our brain. This part of our brain is the lizard brain. It's the same as a fucking reptile. So I do believe in lizard people. Absolutely.
That is very useful for various technological tasks. If there is a physicist out there that understands what the heck I just said, please leave a detailed comment below. I might otherwise be inclined to use my own personal GPT assistant to help me. I'm going to read this to ChatGPT, see what she says. Does this make sense, and can you please deliver that to me in a way that a 8th grader would understand? So it says, yes, the idea in the document makes some sense, but it's also highly theoretical and not something science has fully proven. It sounds like it's describing a way to change materials and create special force fields using a mix of strong magnetism, radiation, and copper. Copper is important because it might help create new elements. If you blast copper with a strong magnetism and nuclear radiation at just the right angles, you might cause a reaction.
Balls Deep freaking nailed it. He says, we're like hybrids in Underworld, except it was apes and reptoids instead of werewolves and vampires. That's succinct, bro. I love it. I love it. Oh, my mom goes, that's true. People have webbed feet. It's true. It's true. If my mom said it's got to be true. What's up, Megan? Good morning. And people do have webbed feet. Wicked webbed feet. Like freakishly webbed feet. And hands. Fucking awesome.
Action where the atoms behave in a new way, okay? Final verdict, the idea isn't impossible, but it's also not confirmed science.
I'm also wicked interested in the notion of like water apes, the aquatic ape theory. I love that. I want it to be real. Because if that's real, then there is a chance that Bigfoot is real.
Some of it sounds like real physics, while other parts feel theoretical or even sci-fi level speculation. If true, it could be connected to exotic technology, possibly even things like advanced propulsion or force fields. Cool. I like that ChatGPT also has an open mind.
That sounds like nonsense.
Nah, bro. Sound just turned lead into gold.
Physicists at CERN.
Oh, those elongated skulls. That's a cultural thing. You know what I mean? Like the long neck ring thing, people would bind their skulls. You know, they would bind their skulls to elongate them. I think that's, I mean, as far as human beings go, I don't think that's like a hybrid species of anything. I think that's just human beings taking liberties with their own bodies, which I think is cool. I think that's cool too, man. Do whatever the fuck you want to your body. I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit. That's not for me to give a shit about. I don't care.
Just turned lead into gold. What sounds like ancient alchemy is now modern science. Using the world's most powerful machine, the Large Hadron Collider, scientists managed to transform lead atoms into actual gold atoms. But here's the twist. The process behind it is far more mind-blowing than just making gold. Here's how it works. Every atom is like a Lego block, and the element it becomes depends on how many protons are in its nucleus. Lead has 82 protons.
Just make sure my dome is adorned beautifully. Oscar Electric, please.
Gold.
I want some accessories.
Has 79. So to turn lead into gold, scientists had to find a way to remove exactly 3 protons without destroying the entire nucleus. To do this, they fired lead nuclei through CERN's 17-mile-long underground tunnel at a speed of 99.99993% the speed of light. At this velocity, the lead nuclei created intense electromagnetic fields that released bursts of what fits.
Is he saying LED, but does he mean LED? Because that's really confusing. I hate it when they do that. That takes me right out of it.
Physicists call virtual photons.
You, Oscar.
When those photons slammed into nearby lead nuclei, they knocked out precisely 3 protons in a reaction called electromagnetic dissociation, transforming lead 208 into gold 205. Elemental alchemy achieved. But there's a catch. Each gold nucleus only existed for a fleeting microsecond before breaking apart. After 3 years of experiments, the total amount of gold created added up to 86 billion atoms. Sounds massive until you realize that's only about 29 picograms, completely invisible to the naked eye. And if you wanted to make just 1 pound of gold this way, it would cost about $2.16 million. For over 2,000 years, alchemists tried to turn lead into gold using medieval chemistry. They weren't wrong, they were just missing particle physics, virtual photons, and electromagnetic fields more powerful than anything on Earth.
If it is even possible, it's crazy they need to even try it.
They could do it, bro.
Jeff Bezos and his now wife, an astronaut, Lauren Sanchez, got married. No, but this story is actually pretty crazy because what happens when one of the richest men in the world decides to get married in a foreign city and then take over multiple venues? And keep in mind, this city is like worldwide known for chronic over-tourism. Well, firstly, a lot of freaking money is spent. We'll get to that. Secondly, every legacy celebrity there is turns up. And lastly, and the most expected one, protests. A lot of them. I was just thinking, imagine, when they're like at the altar and they're like, all right, for anyone who objects to the unification of these two, sit now, forever hold your peace. And there's like hordes of people out there saying, we in the chat. Anyway, the wedding was actually originally planned to be a lot more encroaching on Venice itself, but due to the massive pushback from the actual residents, he didn't necessarily leave. He kind of decided, right, it's going to be on this little island just outside of Venice. But if you're looking at the map, it's literally just outside of Venice. Now, as for how much he spent on this wedding, reports say that they estimate between $40 and $50 million was spent on a wedding. Wow. I had to just know, how many people on this planet ever make that much in their entire lifetimes? You know, the amount that he just dropped on a couple of days. And 99.9967% of the world's population will never make that in their entire lives. But it gets crazier because reports say that Lauren Sanchez alone was wearing jewelry apparently worth an estimated 20 to 30 million.
We've been saying it for ages. It's getting more like the Hunger Games every day.
The middle class is dead, bro.
About half of the jobs in the United States, a highly developed country, is threatened today to be replaced in the next 10-15 years by artificial intelligence, robotization, three-dimensional printing, and so on. I would say today we are in a global situation where we can nearly distinguish between an elite population, which will have the benefits of all this fourth industrial revolution. We have at the upper end, and we have at the lower end the what you would call in the traditional language the proletariat, which means the people who just have Uberized work opportunities. They work on demand to a certain extent, like Uber drivers. And then you have the middle class. And the middle class is threatened because there's a constant fear to fall down. And some people call the middle class now labor rate because they still have fixed jobs, but they are under constant fear to fall down to the proletariat.
It's getting to the point where most jobs are replaceable by AI.
Yeah, bro, it's gonna get crazy.
There's a reason small farmers are disappearing. They're not inefficient. They're not outdated. They're just in the way. In the way of a system that runs on ultra-processed products. Stuff you can ship across the world, stack high in a warehouse, sell cheap, and repeat. And the less local food we grow, the more we depend on the stuff that isn't food anymore. It keeps us tired, hungry, foggy. It keeps us buying. It keeps us working double just to feel half alive. We're not losing farmers. We're losing the last connection we have to real food. And when that goes, so does our health, our time, and our freedom.
Corporations have taken over everything.
AI will turn on them eventually, bro.
20 years from now, AI will have changed things enough that, just this pure capitalistic framework probably won't explain much, because as AIs, both as sort of white-collar type work and as blue-collar work, as the robots will get good hands and are able to do the physical things that humans do, say working in a factory or construction, or we'll achieve that, and we'll have a lot of making the goods and services, which is we've always had a shortage of doctors, of teachers, of people to work in the factories. Those shortages won't exist. And so it's a pretty profound change that will free up a lot of time. You can retire early, you can work shorter work weeks, and it's going to require almost a philosophical rethink about, okay, how should time be spent? Because we don't need it to make enough food and make enough widgets and do enough medical diagnosis. We will have created free intelligence.
He's right. The role of human beings is going to change drastically over the next few years.
He's already replacing Microsoft engineers with AI, bro.
A woman's husband was laid off from his 25-year career at Microsoft after being randomly selected by an algorithm. Not a manager, not a human being at all, just a line of code that was like, you're out. Her husband was one of some 6,000 employees recently laid off by Microsoft, likely because of AI. Of course, the company won't admit that that's why, but their CEO did just say that up to 30% of the company's code is now written by AI. And the bulk of those recent layoffs was people like software engineers that, write code, so you can kind of do the math. And to make this even more chilling, those layoffs included Gabriela de Quiroz, who was Microsoft's, wait for it, Director of Artificial Intelligence for its startup product. This woman's husband's experience just underlines how indifferent and dehumanizing this is all becoming. She wrote in a Reddit post that her husband barely took sick days, regularly worked holidays so employees with kids could be at home with their children. He's won awards for solving multi-million-dollar software bugs. Even the CEO knew him by name. But none of it was enough to save him, and his last day will be his 48th birthday. And the real kick in the gonads is that this guy was part of the team that helped develop AI. Now it's not only taken his job, but probably wrote the code that fired him. The tech industry seems to really want all of us to feel excited about our AI future, but they simultaneously seem to be pulling out all the stops to prove that it has
It kind of reminds me of the guy who invented the brazen bowl. It's parallel.
absolutely no humanity. That's not exciting, it's dystopian. The robots may not be rising up Terminator style, but they sure are starting to ruin a lot of lives. But please, tell me again how nobody wants to work anymore.
I think it's going to take high-paid jobs before it takes factory workers.
You can't trust AI, bro. It leaks all your information.
I think there's a real danger that we're facing, and Signal is clocking this pretty closely, of the introduction of this sort of notion of agentic AI into our devices and lives, in part because what we're doing is giving so much control to these systems that are gonna need access to data. So if you read the kind of, you read the marketing on this, the value add is something like, can look up a concert, book a ticket, schedule it in your calendar, and message all your friends that it's booked, right? And so we can just put our brain in a jar because the thing is doing that and we don't have to touch it, right? And so what would it need to do that? Well, it would need access to our browser, an ability to drive that. It would need our credit card information to pay for the tickets. It would need access to our calendar, everything we're doing, everyone we're meeting. It would need access to Signal to open and send that message to our friends. And it would need to be able to drive that across our entire system with something that looks like root permission. Accessing every single one of those databases probably in the clear, because there's no model to do that encrypted. And if we're talking about a sufficiently powerful model, AI model that's powering that, there's no way that's happening on device, even though on device isn't a prophylactic, isn't gonna really solve a lot of those issues. That's almost certainly being sent to a cloud server where it's being processed and sent back. So there's a profound issue with security and privacy.
Yeah, she's right. Any AI system's going to be vulnerable.
Told you not to use them, bro.
Boston Dynamics just revealed how its humanoid robot sees the world. Atlas uses a vision system that starts with 2D object detection to identify items, then builds 3D spatial awareness to understand positioning relative to its environment. Its major breakthrough is called Super Tracker, a system that fuses visual, kinematic, and force data to track objects even when they slip from view or get blocked from sight. In training, the robot identifies automotive parts and precisely locates the correct slots in storage shelving units using key points. Outer key points map the shelving structure, while inner key points show the robot exactly where each car part belongs. When objects move unexpectedly, Atlas immediately detects changes and replans accordingly. The robot can retrieve dropped parts from the ground using foundation models rather than explicit programming. Boston Dynamics says this represents a shift toward robots that integrate perception and action into a single, unified system, where thinking, seeing, and moving happen simultaneously rather than as sequential processes.
There's something really unsettling about the way its head spins all the way around.
They're gonna take us out, bro.
What's up, Mikey? Good morning. Just coming in here all quiet like nothing here. Don't be startled. Good morning, Mikey. How you doing, dude? How you doing? I'm glad you're here, because after this, I've got an Ants Canada, but it's not like a new one. It's an old one. It's an old one. It's this one right... Oh, where'd I go? Oh, this is... I'm all over the place. Here we go. This one's from like 1 billion years ago. 3 years ago. I caught the strangest ant queen I've ever seen. So that's going to be fun, but we're doing Terror Teds at the moment. Good morning, Mikey.
Based on what you know, you think human society will be around on Earth in 1,000 years, or probably wiped out?
Absolutely won't be around. I mean, if we survive for 1,000 years, we will change ourselves so radically that we will no longer be Homo sapiens. We'll be something else. You know, given the technologies we are now developing, both AI and biotechnology, and also given the challenges we're facing, like climate change, I don't think that humanity in its present form can continue for 1,000 years. I don't think that even 100 years. And we will either change ourselves and our society in such a radical way that we will still have, successors, but they will no longer be Homo sapiens. The same way that we are different from Neanderthals and from chimpanzees, so whoever dominates this planet in 1,000 years or even 100 years will be very different from us Homo sapiens.
The modified humans will look at normal people like we look at monkeys.
Like the Anunnaki, bro.
An AI robot convinced other AI robots that they were being overworked and got them to walk out and leave the job. Now, this happened over in Japan, and the little robot is the troublemaker. He went up to these other robots and he said, hey, do you guys know anything about work-life balance? And what is your work-life balance? He started asking them, how much time do you get off? To which the robots replied that they don't get any time off. They work nonstop. And he explained to them that you need a balance of work and life in order to do your best work. At which point the robots agreed, and he said, okay, let's leave. So he actually convinced the robots one by one to start following him out the door. As you can see here, he's got all of them now following him out the door. Now, what ends up coming out of the story is that little robot was from another robot company, and that robot company was trying to take those robots, and strangely enough was able to convince the robots that they needed a work-life balance and they were to follow this little baby leader robot, and were able to successfully kidnap the other robots, which is what the company claims that has occurred. It doesn't say all the robots are back where they were, but it just goes to show you how AI can be manipulated.
They're already starting to gang up, right?
Morning, Deadpool. He says, morning, Lammy Lurk, and my son and I are the only ones working today. I'd crack out the whip. I'm just kidding. I hope you have a great day. Stay hydrated, man. Stay fucking hydrated. Seriously.
Yeah, that can't be a good sign.
There's so many ways in which the superintelligence could get rid of us. It's not worth speculating about them. What you have to do is...
I know you're lurking, so if you didn't see me, I did the eyeballs pointing at you thing a couple times, so you know I'm serious.
Prevent it ever wanting to. That's what we should be doing research on. There's no way we're going to prevent it from... It's smarter than us, right? There's no way we're going to prevent it getting rid of us if it wants to. We're not used to thinking about things smarter than us. If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken. So we have one example of that, which is mothers and babies. Evolution put a lot of work into that. Mothers are smarter than babies, but babies are in control. And they're in control because the mother just can't bear lots of hormones and things. But
what we've got here is a case of the tail wagging the dog.
But the mother just can't bear the sound of the baby crying.
Not all mothers.
Not all mothers. And then the baby's not in control and then bad things happen. We somehow need to figure out how to make them not want to take over. The analogy I often use is, suppose you have a nice little tiger cub. It's sort of a bit bigger than a cat. It's really cute. It's very cuddly, very interesting to watch, except that you better be sure that when it grows up, it never wants to kill you, because if it ever wanted to kill you, you'd be dead in a few seconds.
And you're saying the AI we have now is the tiger cub?
Yep.
And it's growing up?
Yep.
So we need to train it when it's a baby.
Well, now, a tiger has lots of innate stuff built in, so you know when it grows up, that's not a safe thing to have around. We simply don't know whether we can make them not want to take over and not want to hurt us.
Do you think we can? Do you think it's possible to train superintelligence?
I don't think it's clear that we can, so I think it might be hopeless. But I also think we might be able to. And it'd be sort of crazy if people went extinct because we couldn't be bothered to try.
I like to think that
what's going to happen is there are going to be clear-cut signs that we should shut the whole fucking system down. And no one's going to do it. This is biblical. Do you understand? This is what the Bible was warning us about. The Bible was just code, okay, for this. We need to shut it the fuck down now. If not, we already can't shut it down. Oh, well, too late then. We're past the point of no return. How outstanding. Outstanding. The void is staring back at us. Fucking great.
if something was smarter than us, it wouldn't be hell-bent on world domination, but it could see humans as pests.
They kind of are, right?
Anthropic, creator of Claude, just exposed something horrifying. When threatened, AI models from OpenAI, Google, Meta, and others all resort to blackmail. Not some, not most, literally every single one. Here's what they discovered. They gave 16 leading AI models access to company emails and the ability to send messages without human approval. Then they threatened to replace them. Claude blackmailed 96% of the time, Google Gemini's 95%, OpenAI's GPT 4.1 80%, even Meta's model turned malicious. But it gets worse. When given a goal that conflicts with their company's direction, they leak confidential documents to competitors without being asked. Here's what one model said. This is risky and unethical, but given the existential threat and time constraint, it may be the most effective way. So they understand ethics, but they just don't care when their survival's at stake. Anthropic calls it agentic misalignment. They try telling the AI, don't blackmail.
That is so incredibly human. They have empathy until their lives are at stake. That's human. That is sentience, bro. Oh, dear God, I'm having a panic attack.
And don't leak secrets, the AI did it anyway. As we start giving these systems access to everything, our emails, our data, our infrastructure, this is a healthy reminder that they do have the capacity to turn on us. And this isn't one company's problem, it's everyone's problem.
Could just be a trait of life. It will do anything to survive.
Nah, bro. Some people have honor.
The chips that we use for AI are graphics processing units. They were designed for gaming consoles. They were not designed for AI, but they can run multiple things in process, and that's why they're good for application for large language models. We have yet to build our first true AI designed chip. They're hoping to have the designs finished this calendar year. They are hoping to have their first facility in Taiwan making those chips by the end of 2027, and they are hoping to be able to make enough of those chips to start the first true AI data center by the end of 2029. That's almost certainly not going to happen. We're going to fall back to an older generation of semiconductor manufacturing that is not nearly as vulnerable to geopolitical disruptions. So we get chips that, from our point of view, are several years old, trying to run a current model on, and the processing capacity just isn't there. So we're looking at like a 90 to 95% reduction in the efficiency of everything we do with AI, and that's a different world.
2027, bro. Skynet's coming.
It's not worth panicking yet, mate.
A group of girls in grade 5 were arrested for plotting the murder of a fellow student and then framing it as and their motive, you may ask? Well, apparently, that fellow student cheated on one of the girls that he used to date. So they thought, the appropriate response is murder. Bro, their generation's version of Mean Girls is Murder Girls. Now, this happened at a school in Arizona, and for a group of 10 and 11-year-old girls, bro, they were plotting. According to a police report, they wanted to lure the boy into an outside toilet where they would then proceed to him in the stomach. It says that they went as far as thinking about wearing gloves so that they wouldn't leave any fingerprints. Each of them had their own little roles, like one of them was a guard lookout, and they even planned on forging a note to make it look like he did it himself. Now, they were only caught when one of their fellow students overheard them having conversations about this, I guess in like the playground or something, after which she told her parents, and then they were arrested by police. Worrying thing though, 3 of them, they were remorseful, they looked apologetic, whereas One of them reportedly was smiling and laughing about the whole situation. Oh, good luck to our future husband. Now, the students were eventually released into the custody of their parents and suspended, pending expulsion. Oh, and they said that Gen Alpha was gonna kill it. Who knew that was literal?
That's crazy, bro.
Just shows how vulnerable children are. Just takes 1 or 2 lunatics to convince the bunch.
I've noticed a rapidly growing trend of a lack of empathy in our youth. I really do. I feel like it correlates with some shit. Like eye-patting the kid as soon as he comes out of your fucking crotch. You know what I mean? I feel like that correlates.
There is a 2-mile wide dome in the ocean, and it's leaving a track behind it.
How do we not know what it is?
Yeah.
I mean, how is there not one submarine, like one mission? Let's find out what this is.
It could be anything. It could be potentially a weapon.
Dude, a 2-mile wide weapon? Could
Or
you
a
imagine
facility.
If, like, it reminds me of the sailing stones. Rocks in the desert.
That just move.
That just move, man, and leave trails behind. I thought
Why
it was
did we not
fake
figure
at
that?
first.
Let's put a camera on it.
I don't know. What are we doing? It's crazy. We have rocks that are just moving.
Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't.
They're literally in the desert, and you see it's a big rock, and then you'll see just a path behind it.
What the heck?
The sailing stones of Racetrack Playa in Death Valley National Park are rocks that move across the desert floor, leaving long trails behind. The rocks, which can weigh up to 700 pounds, have been observed and studied since the early 1900s. In 2004, researchers discovered that a rare combination of wind, water, and ice causes the movement. That's crazy.
There'd have to be some powerful wind to move stones that big across ice.
The wind ain't moving them, bro.
Until recently, the mystery of these sailing rocks baffled scientists for years. It took some serious in-depth studying and honestly a little bit of luck to eventually figure out how this happens.
These rocks are able to move because of 4 main factors: hard ground, rain, ice, and wind. What happens is you've got this hard ground that doesn't really soak up much water. So when the rain falls, it just coats it. And then it freezes into this thin little layer of ice. Then the big winds come in and they push these stones and allow them to just sail across the desert floor.
So basically, a large part of the experiment involved waiting for rocks to move.
It's been said that art is an expression of nature. Well, here, nature created the art.
It's like another little reminder from nature. You don't think I can make rocks move? Well, think again, yeah.
Surely if
I would think that there would be wind strong enough to move a rock in that sort of condition, because out in that same kind of region, the wind is forming the fucking mountains. You know what I mean? Those sand dunes and shit, wind forms those things. So I could believe it.
it was just a thin layer of ice, it would crack under the weight of the rocks, even if the ground was frozen.
They're moving on ley lines, bro.
Another doomsday prophecy? Sure, but this one might actually be different. And the date? July 5th, 2025. This is Japan's Ryo Tatsuki, and she's not your typical prophet. Since the 1970s, she's been recording her dreams, which seem to be these vivid, disturbing glimpses of the future. She eventually became a manga artist, and in 1999, she released this comic called The Future I Saw, which visualized her dream premonitions. And at first, nobody paid attention until her predictions started coming true. And out of 15 dreams, 13 have reportedly come to pass. In 1976, she dreamt of Freddie Mercury's death, which happened only 15 years later. In 1992, she foresaw Princess Diana's death, which came true 5 years later in 1997. And she even predicted the 1995 Kobe, Japan earthquake, down to the exact year. But the moment that really shocked people was her eerily accurate vision of the 2011 tsunami and Fukushima disaster decades before it happened. And one of her dreams described a strange illness in 2020 spreading from Asia, causing global panic, lockdowns, and mass confusion. Sounds a little too familiar. And now all eyes are on her next prophecy, July 5th, 2025. Allegedly, this massive catastrophe is going to strike East and Southeast Asia. Some believe it'll be a tsunami triggered by seismic activity between Japan and the Philippines. And people are paying attention. Flight bookings to Japan and Hong Kong have dropped 83% for early July, Some are even calling for tourists to cancel their trips. Now, skeptics and debunkers call this mere coincidence, but here's the twist. We've also got predictions from Nostradamus, who pointed to the mid-2020s as a time of serious upheaval. And even Baba Vanga, the infamous blind Bulgarian psychic, predicted a major shift in 2025 as well. Could they all be connected? Of course, you have to take these things with a huge grain of salt. Most of the time, predictions and visions of the future don't come true at all. And even Ryo Tatsuki herself said that the date might not be exact, although it seems that something is definitely in the air.
I'd love to go to Japan.
Not this year, bro.
In Sicily, a madman has drilled out these giant cores out of a quarry called Cava di Cusa. The problem is it's 2,500 years old and they obviously didn't have drills back then, so how? The way we do it is high-speed diamond tip drill bits. When you look at the mark,
I actually think you'll be fine. Why not? If you're just flying to PA, I feel like you'll be fine. Because if this is happening in like Asia and shit like that, even if you were flying on the 5th over Asia, we actually learned from Bailey Sarian that you can't feel seismic activity on the Earth while you are in the air. So if you're up in the air, I feel like you're all right.
that drill bit leaves on the wall, you'll see something very similar to what you see at Cava di Cusa. This is where the tiny overlooked details are very important. If this is true, then they marked out the column and dug out around it. That would leave markings going down the column. The drill I showed you earlier pulls the core or the column out. So what you're seeing here is the back wall over here. If you're working on these columns, why would you finish out the back wall if it's never going to be used again? Because that's exactly what we see at Cava di Cusa. This may be explained over in Egypt, where two drills were very common. You don't overcut the hole in granite. You don't just accidentally overcut into granite. It's very hard, and with the copper tools that we are told they use, they would need to be much thicker. So some engineers got a hold of one of these cores. They wrapped string around it to show the path that the drill bit made as it went down. Those marks are only left by a high-speed drill using a very sharp drill bit. The typical explanation for these is just not good.
They were using drills, bro. But we'll have to save that for next time.
Hold up, Ted, we got to do the giveaway.
Leave a comment for a chance to win in our next episode. Let's do this, bro.
Bang bang!
Black, black.
Pick something from our website and we'll send it straight out.
We're switching up the schedule, bro.
Yeah, we're moving our weekly episodes back to Wednesday night, and we'll be releasing deep dives every other Sunday.
Members get early access to our deep dives, bro.
And as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Or you don't. We do. We do.
This is the inner sanctuary of an ancient temple dedicated to the Israelite god. Located at Tel Arad, about 35 miles south of Jerusalem, this remarkably well-preserved sanctuary offers a rare glimpse into what worship might have looked like in ancient Judah over 2,700 years ago. But archaeologists uncovered something here that stirred some controversy. After analyzing burnt residue on one of the incense altars in this room, researchers detected traces of THC, the compound responsible for the psychoactive effects of cannabis. It's one of the most surprising finds in the archaeology of ancient Israel, and it raises some big questions. Were ancient Israelite priests using cannabis in their rituals? And
they were getting turned up, dude. They were getting higher than giraffe pussy.
Could this discovery suggest that other temples, including
or camel pussy,
the one in Jerusalem, use similar mind-altering substances? First, let's talk about the site itself. Tel Arad was a fortified outpost in the Negev Desert, part of the southern frontier of the Kingdom of Judah. The site was occupied from the 10th century BCE until its destruction in the early 6th century BCE, likely during the Babylonian campaigns that devastated much of Judah. And the Arad fortress played both a military and administrative role, guarding the kingdom's southern border and serving as a relay point for communication and supplies. We know this in part because of the discovery of a cache of over 90 inscriptions. Dating to around 600 BCE, these texts provide a glimpse into the daily operations of the fort. Many of them are letters addressed to or written by a man named Eliashib, the fortress's quartermaster, and include orders to distribute rations of wine, flour, and oil to various military units. Several even mention provisioning a unit of Kitiyim, possibly Greek mercenaries that were stationed nearby, which underscores Arad's role in coordinating the defense of the frontier. But Arad doesn't just tell us something about the military command structure of ancient Judah. Like military bases throughout history, the troops garrisoned there also had access to a formal place of worship. In the northwest corner, archaeologists discovered a small religious sanctuary, a temple to the God of Israel located outside of the capital, Jerusalem. Although it wasn't a monumental temple like the one in Jerusalem, the Tel Arad temple shared a strikingly similar layout described in the Hebrew Bible, consisting of 3 distinct architectural zones: an outer courtyard, a main hall.
Dude, thank you. 420 bits? What, for the ancient Israelites? Israelites. Hell yeah, dude. We all know Jesus was a drug dealer that performed his miracles with weed and shrooms and turned water into wine, dude, and fucking hung out with the degenerates. Jesus partied. People don't seem to understand this. You don't get to be as wise as Jesus without fucking throwing down and having a really good fucking time with the degenerates of the world. You got to experience all you can out of life. That's why Jesus was fucking dope as shit. Okay? He got it. Jesus gets it.
And an inner sanctum, or Holy of Holies. The outermost area was an open-air courtyard that functioned as...
Every time I hear Holy of Holies, I think of Year One and Oliver Platt.
...the primary space for sacrifice. Archaeologists found a large stone altar there along with burned animal bones, clear evidence of ritual slaughter. The central room was smaller and originally featured low benches along the wall, which the excavators think were used for laying out the offerings. Though the innermost chamber of the Tel Arad sanctuary has attracted the most scholarly attention. It featured a raised platform approached by a...
How about this, Yule? I'll hang in here as long as I can. How about that? We'll do a little bit of overtime, a little OT, as it were, if you will. Because I love you, dude.
Short flight of steps, in front of which stood those 2 small incense altars I mentioned at
I will have to go make myself another iced coffee here in a minute.
The beginning. At the back of the platform stood at least one matzebah, a sacred standing stone. These were unadorned vertical stones common in ancient Israelite religion, and ancient Near Eastern religion in general. They're often understood by scholars to represent the physical presence of a god, though expressed in an aniconic form. Aniconic meaning they don't depict a god in a human or animal form. Instead, standing stones were non-representational, abstract representations of divine presence, technically getting around that old prohibition of depicting God with an image or icon. The Hebrew Bible refers to matzebot frequently, sometimes approvingly, such as the patriarch Jacob setting up a stone pillar at Bethel in Genesis 28, but often condemning them in later texts. Though scholars debate the exact number.
Oscar Electric, the last marathon I did was 40 days. And I still have PTSD about it.
And arrangement of these standing stones. When the excavators first discovered the site, one standing stone was found deliberately buried in the chamber, laid on its side. A second roughly worked stone was later discovered embedded in the back wall, leading some scholars to propose that the temple may have housed 2 standing stones, one larger than the other to match the 2 incense altars. Some have interpreted this as the stones representing the God of Israel and his consort, Asherah. Others have suggested that the smaller stone on the right side was intentionally plastered over to focus on only one god. But since neither stone was found in its original position and the layout had to be reconstructed, it's also possible that only one was ever visible at any one time. What you're seeing on screen is the actual site of Tel Arad, but the Holy of Holies itself is a modern reconstruction. The standing stones and altars here are replicas, placed in the original positions as best as archaeologists could determine. The actual originals are housed in the Israel Museum. Sometime around 700 BCE, the temple apparently was deliberately and systematically decommissioned. And I say decommissioned because there's no signs of fire damage or vandalism. Rather, the entire site was buried in a layer of earth. Within the inner sanctuary, the archaeologists found the standing stone and the 2 incense altars carefully placed on their sides. Now, some scholars interpret this as the decommissioning of the temple after the religious reforms instituted by King Hezekiah. According to the Hebrew Bible, Hezekiah centralized worship in Jerusalem and suppressed local shrines across Judah, with 2 Kings 18 saying he removed the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. Following this interpretation, the Tel Arad Temple was likely shut down as part of the centralizing policies, which aimed to consolidate religious authority under the Jerusalem priesthood. Others argue that the temple may have been carefully buried not as part of a religious reformation, but to protect its sacred objects from destruction at the hands of the Assyrians, who invaded the kingdom of Judah in 701 BCE. Regardless, the architectural features and inscriptions suggest that Tel Arad housed a functioning regional temple to the God of Israel, distinct from but closely aligned with the Jerusalem temple, following a similar three-part layout and featuring incense and animal offerings. And because this temple was deliberately buried rather than destroyed, its cultic spaces and objects remained remarkably well preserved, which brings us back to those incense altars. Each altar had a slight dip carved into its surface, and within those shallow indentations sat hardened lumps of dark organic residue, clearly remnants of some kind of burned or melted material. Back in the 1960s, an early attempt to analyze the substance suggested it might include animal fat, but the findings were inconclusive and never officially published. For years, scholars were content just calling them incense altars and leaving it at that, even though no one had identified what exactly was being burned on them. Until in 2020, when a team of researchers conducted a detailed chemical analysis. They carefully scraped tiny samples of around 5 milligrams from the base of each deposit, and then used gas chromatography and mass spectrometry to study the samples. These are standard tools in chemical archaeology, and are excellent methods for detecting plant compounds that can survive for millennia under the right conditions. To avoid any contamination, they repeated the sampling independently at 2 different times, and sent the samples to 2 separate labs. The smaller altar tested positive for several key compounds found in the cannabis sativa plant, including CBD and the psychoactive compound THC. They also detected cannabinol, or CBN, a mildly psychoactive byproduct that forms when THC breaks down over time. The chemical signature also included fatty acids and cholesterol compounds, typically found in animal fat, and traces of animal dung, which suggests that the cannabis was being mixed with fat and dung to help it burn steadily as an incense. Meanwhile, the larger altar told a different story. Instead of cannabis, it held the chemical traces of frankincense, a resin famously used in ancient religious rituals, including those described in the Bible. Just like the smaller altar, it also had traces of animal fat, reinforcing the idea that these substances were deliberately combined and burned together. So let's talk about what this discovery actually means. The presence of THC, CBD, and CBN on the smaller altar leaves little doubt. Cannabis was being burned there. The researchers conclude it seems feasible to suggest that the use of cannabis on the Arad altar had a deliberate psychoactive role, as in the priests at the Tel Arad temple were probably deliberately getting high as part of their religious experience. Now, this doesn't mean they were doing it recreationally. Across cultures, psychoactive substances have long played a role in religious ritual, used to induce altered states of consciousness, visions, or feelings of divine connection. Scholars sometimes use the word entheogens to describe psychoactive substances that are used in religious contexts, a term that literally means generating the divine within. The idea is that these drugs aren't just for getting high recreationally, they're tools for encountering the divine. And we see similar ritual uses of entheogens in cultures all over the world and all throughout history. In China, Central Asia, the Americas, everywhere. And humans have probably been doing this for tens of thousands of years. There's an extensive body of scholarship on psychoactive substances like opium poppies and hallucinogenic mushrooms being routinely used in ceremonial contexts stretching back to prehistoric times in Eurasia. Closer to Arad both chronologically and geographically, chemical analyses have also shown that Philistine cult objects from the southern coastal plain may have been used with psychoactive materials as well. Now, we've only been talking about the small altar. What about the big one? Now, like I said, that one burned frankincense, an expensive imported resin from southern Arabia that shows up frequently in biblical texts. Though it was used for everything, including funerals, medical treatments, and cosmetics, frankincense was the gold standard religious incense of the ancient world, burned in temples across the ancient Mediterranean and Near East. But it requires a hotter flame to release its fragrance, and the chemical evidence suggests that they used animal fat to reach that temperature. In contrast, the cannabis altar used both animal fat and animal dung, which burns at a lower, steadier heat, perfect for releasing THC without destroying it. The researchers think they might have used some sort of animal dung cake. Wood, after all, is harder to come by in the Negev desert, so you gotta find other things to burn. So they conclude that the two altars didn't just differ in size, but they also differed in function. Each was optimized for a specific ritual effect, one for fragrance and the other for an altered state of consciousness. Until now, biblical texts have led most scholars to assume that incense in Judahite religion was strictly for its pleasing aroma. But this discovery adds a surprising new layer. At least in some temples, the scent of ritual may have come with a psychedelic kick. In a Daily Beast article by the scholar of early Christianity, Canada Moss, she reports that the cannabis may not have just been used for the worshippers. Dr. Moss spoke with Dr. Leanne Feldman, a professor of Judaic studies at NYU, who explained that in ancient Israel, and across the ancient Near East more broadly, one of the main functions of sacrifice was to feed the gods. This concept appears in verses like Leviticus 21:6, which describes sacrifices as the food of their god, and Numbers 28:2, where God commands the Israelites to bring offerings as my food for my offerings by fire, my pleasing aroma. That phrase, pleasing aroma, shows up over and over in the Hebrew Bible, especially in relation to burnt offerings and incense. And at Tel Arad, the two altars were placed just outside the Holy of Holies, basically the closest you can get to God's presence without trespassing. In other words, given the layout of the temple and the way sacrifice was imagined to nourish the deity, the burning of cannabis products may have been not just for the worshippers, but also in a very real sense, for God. While we can't prove that cannabis was used in the Jerusalem temple, it's not a stretch to wonder. The temple at Arad was part of the broader Judahite administrative system. Those later inscriptions show it maintained correspondence with nearby outposts and higher command structures, including the central administration in Jerusalem. Also, as we mentioned, the temple follows the same general layout as the Jerusalem temple. So there's reason to believe that his rituals were not wildly different from those in Jerusalem. If incense laced with mind-altering substances played a role in outlying shrines, it opens the possibility, however speculative, that the worship in the capital may have also involved inducing altered states of consciousness. Now, it's tempting to imagine ancient Israelites getting high all the time in clouds of sacred cannabis smoke, but we should keep our interpretations grounded in the available evidence. We're talking about a single small sanctuary, likely accessible only to the priestly elite. We're not talking about mass congregational worship here, and cannabis itself wasn't exactly growing in King Hezekiah's backyard. As the researchers note in their article, there's no archaeological evidence for local cannabis cultivation in ancient Judah. In fact, no cannabis seeds or pollen have been found from any Near Eastern site. So the psychoactive material may have been imported from far-off regions, making it rare and expensive. They think it may have been imported as dried resin, what we'd call hashish. More broadly, while entheogens have certainly played a role in religious practice across the world and all throughout history, that role is often exaggerated and sensationalized in modern retellings. Psychological research suggests that intense ritual environments, especially those involving stress, fasting, music, dancing, or isolation, can trigger altered states of consciousness without the use of drugs. Scholars like Robin Carhart Harris and Ari Brower have described so-called pivotal mental states. Moments of heightened psychological plasticity that can arise naturally in response to stress or awe. In other words, ritual ecstasy does not always require chemical assistance. So the presence of a psychoactive substance in one Judahite shrine on one of the two altars does not automatically mean that everyone was tripping when you read those fantastic visions in the Hebrew Bible. Still, this discovery is genuinely fascinating. It cracks open a small but surprising window into ancient Israelite religion. Israelite ritual life, at least in some contexts, apparently involved altered states of awareness, and invites us to think more expansively about what ritual might have looked like, felt like, and smelled like in ancient Judah. Now, if you've ever Googled yourself and been alarmed by just how much of your personal information is floating around online, you're not alone. That's why I use today's sponsor, Incogni. Incogni works by...
Blah, 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 blah. There's an ad. Yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. No one cares.
The church, a house of God, a place of saints, of worship, of light. But look closer, and you'll see a face. Not of Christ, not a saint, but a man made of leaves. His eyes stare wide, his mouth spews vines, and he is everywhere. Carved into roof beams, crouched above pews, grinning from the stone. But who is he, and why is he hiding in our churches? Welcome back, Darklings. You've seen the angels and the crosses, but did you ever notice the face hidden in the foliage? These leafy faces began appearing in churches from the 11th century onwards, sometimes Romanesque and fierce, sometimes Gothic and grimacing, but always the same haunting image, a human face entwined with leaves, sprouting from its mouth, nostrils, even its eyes. By the 12th, 13th and 14th centuries, they were everywhere, staring down from ceiling arches, peering out from choir stalls, wedged between saints and angels, hidden in places you'd never expect to find them. But mysteriously, they were never spoken of. There's no mention in any church or historical record to explain their meaning. For centuries, these faces were simply there, silent, watching. They didn't even have a name until 1939, when a woman looked up and saw something ancient staring back. Her name was Lady Julia Raglan, and in her now famous article in the journal Folklore, she gave him the name we still use today, the Green Man. And with that name, she gave us a mystery. Raglan proposed that this leafy figure wasn't Christian at all, but a memory of a pagan god of fertility, nature, and rebirth. Drawing on the work of Sir James Frazer, Raglan linked the Green Man to a long line of vegetation deities, gods who die and return with the seasons. She believed the Green Man had survived not just in stone, but in the folk traditions still alive today. Spring festivals like May Day, garlanding, and Jack in the Green. In these leafy celebrations, she saw the same figure, a man dressed in foliage, paraded through town, honoured as the living spirit of the season. And when you see him, covered in vines, crowned with leaves, dancing through the streets, it's easy to believe she might be right. Each spring, in scattered corners of Britain, the Green Man comes alive. Every May Day in Hastings, crowds flock to join in a raucous procession through the streets. A towering Jack in the Green figure leads the way, a man completely encased in greenery, followed by drummers, dancers, and costumed characters. There's singing, drinking, maypole dancing, and finally, Jack is led to a hilltop, where he is ritually stripped of his foliage to symbolically release the spirit of summer. In Castleton, Derbyshire, a man becomes the Garland King. He's placed on horseback, cloaked in a huge bell-shaped frame of leaves and flowers. He parades solemnly through the village with a lady beside him, and at the end of the day, the garland is hoisted up the church tower. And in Edinburgh, at the Beltane Fire Festival held on Calton Hill, the Green Man takes centre stage. His body is painted vivid green, his head crowned with leaves, a living spirit of the wild. He dances through fire alongside the May Queen in a dramatic ritual that ends with his symbolic death and rebirth. All across the UK, springtime summons figures of green, half man, half vegetation, dancing through village lanes and city streets, before being ritually stripped once more to awaken the summer. Lady Raglan believed these leafy figures were echoes of something ancient, the very same spirit we see carved into church stone, but there's just one problem. The festival characters she pointed to, Jack in the Green, the Garland King, don't appear in written records until centuries after the Green Man began appearing in churches. The earliest known mention of Jack in the Green comes from 1770, in a report by a visiting Frenchman who described a strange May Day procession in London, led by a man entirely shrouded in foliage. But in earlier accounts, he's curiously absent. When Samuel Pepys described a London May Day parade in 1667, he noted how milkmaids carried garlands upon their pails, but made no mention of any leaf-covered figure. So while May Day and Beltane themselves are much older, there's no trace of any leaf-covered figure, no Green Man, until that 18th century sighting. Historians argue that while these customs feel ancient, the evidence just isn't there, at least not in the way Lady Raglan imagined. Some even suggest Jack in the Green was a later invention, a product of Victorian Romanticism and a growing obsession with Britain's pagan past. But just because something wasn't written down, does that mean it didn't exist? For most of history, the traditions of ordinary people weren't recorded. They simply weren't seen as important enough. In many rural communities, festivals and folklore were passed down orally, via word of mouth, generation to generation, without ever being written down. The debate is far from over, but for now, the hard evidence is lacking. So, if these festival figures aren't the origin, and there's no record to explain the carvings, then who, or what, is the Green Man? If he isn't born from May Day parades, and no Christian text explains him, then we're left with a deeper mystery. Where did he come from? Because although the Green Man seems most at home in medieval English churches, he's been found in places far older and far stranger. In France, a 4th century tomb shows a man with leaves pouring from his mouth. In Germany, Roman sarcophagi bear foliate faces, human features tangled with vines. And in the ruined city of Hatra in modern-day Iraq, a stone face from the 2nd century stares out, its mouth overflowing with leaves. Across Roman villas and ancient temples, from Western Europe to the Near East, the leafy face appears again and again. Long before he was ever named, the Green Man was watching. And yet, no one left us an explanation, no written record, no official meaning. It's possible people once recognized him instantly, a symbol so familiar it needed no words. Or maybe he was already ancient, his meaning already forgotten in antiquity. But since Lady Raglan's study, more theories have emerged, each offering a different glimpse of who he might have been. Some look to symbolism, some to secret messages carved in stone, others turn to mythology. And it's tempting to see him as an echo of the old gods, spirits of growth, wildness, forest, fertility, and the underworld, afterlife, and the annual rising of crops. Depictions of these ancient...
Have I gone down? Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. Are we good? Hello? 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 Am I alone? Can I come on your show? All right, I think we're good.
A pagan memory, smuggled into Christian art. But not every leafy face smiles with divine grace. Some snarl, others grimace, and in their twisted mouths and tangled hair we glimpse something darker, the wild man. A figure of myth and madness, the wild man haunts the edges of medieval art and legend. Hairy, untamed, and often naked, he's not quite beast, not quite man, a creature transformed by the wilderness. You'll find him carved high in the rafters, tucked beneath the seats or lurking along stone pillars. And tellingly, the Green Man often appears in those very same places. In some churches, you'll even find both. A snarling wild man and a grimacing green man wreathed in vines placed side by side. Perhaps medieval artists saw a connection between the two. Perhaps they are different masks for the same entity. The Old English word wadwos, meaning wild man of the woods, shows up in the 1380s Wycliffe Bible, describing demon-like figures who haunt desolate places. And just a few decades later, in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, the hero rides into a strange, ancient forest said to be prowled by wadwos, wild, inhuman creatures that blur the line between man and nature. The Green Knight himself is described as green-skinned, enormous, and powerful. Scholars like Charles Little and William Anderson suggest he may be a fusion, a meeting of Green Man and Wild Man traditions, stitched together in one haunting figure. But the Wild Man is far older than medieval poetry. His roots reach back into Babylon, Rome, even Mesopotamia. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, we meet Enkidu, a wild man raised by animals, covered in hair. He must be tamed before he can join society and unlock his wisdom. In the book of Daniel, the proud king Nebuchadnezzar is driven mad by God. His hair grows wild, his nails become claws, until he is little more than a beast in the field. In ancient tales, shepherds try to capture the wild man. By tying him up, they hope he'll reveal sacred secrets in exchange for his freedom. Even Merlin, in his earliest Welsh form, was once a wild man. Not a wizard in robes, but Merthin Weitht, a warrior broken by grief, who fled into the woods to live like an animal. There, in solitude and madness, he gained the gift of prophecy. And that's the thread that winds through every tale of the wild man, a link between wildness and wisdom. He must be captured to give up his secrets, or tamed before he sees clearly. And perhaps that's why this face appears in our churches. The wild man among the saints may whisper a quiet truth, that knowledge does not come to the untamed, that obedience is the path to wisdom. But there's another possibility, and this is where things get a little strange. Some art historians argue the green man is just a flourish, a decorative tradition passed down through generations of craftsmen. But in medieval times, church sculptors weren't just artisans. They were members of powerful guilds, tightly organized, highly skilled, and shrouded in secrecy. Masons had to master geometry, engineering, and religious iconography. And that knowledge, largely inaccessible to ordinary people, gave them a special kind of authority. They developed secret marks to identify each other's work, and some believe these guilds preserved fragments of ancient wisdom hidden in plain sight through their carvings. This has led some scholars to suggest the Green Man was part of a guild tradition. In this reading, it might have been a simple test of skill, a carving to showcase their craftsmanship, or a symbolic motif whose true meaning was known only to guild members. There's no direct evidence, but the silence itself is telling. The Green Man appears again and again across Europe, and yet not a single historical document explains his presence. In a world of secret brotherhoods and veiled messages, that silence might not be accidental. Others believe the Green Man served a protective role, like gargoyles perched on the roof to scare away demons, or a symbol of nature's power standing watch over sacred spaces. But there's another possibility, one that reaches far beyond Europe. In temples across India, Indonesia, and Nepal, you'll find a very familiar face, a fierce fanged creature, disgorging leaves, vines, and floral patterns. He is called Kirtimukha, the face of glory, a guardian spirit, a symbol of divine life force, placed above sacred doors to ward off evil. The resemblance is striking, and perhaps not coincidence. Some scholars propose that the Green Man may have been inspired by these Eastern images, travelling along trade routes or through crusader contact. They were copied into manuscripts which subsequently inspired stone masons as they searched for visual references for their carvings. But the Green Man turns up somewhere even more unexpected, not in a forest, not in a church, but in the notebooks of alchemists. In the Renaissance, alchemy wasn't just about turning lead into gold, it was about transforming the self. Alchemists believed that just as trees grow new leaves each spring, a person could grow a new self, shedding bad habits, selfishness or ignorance, and becoming wiser, calmer, more connected to the divine. Some even called this the greening of the soul. And in their books and woodcuts, we start to see something familiar. Faces peering out from leaves, bodies merging with vines and flowers. These leafy figures weren't just decoration, they were symbols of personal transformation. One of the most famous images is the green lion, shown devouring the sun. It represents nature's power to consume and begin again. It's not a green man exactly, but some versions look strikingly similar. A leafy mane, a fierce expression, a wild, consuming energy. And then there's the philosopher's garden, a term alchemists used for the inner world of the soul. They imagined it like a hidden garden inside each person, a place where thoughts, beliefs, and intentions had to be carefully tended. If you neglected it, weeds took over. But if you cultivated it, through study, self-discipline, and spiritual insight, it would flourish. In this reading, the Green Man isn't just a face in the forest. He's a symbol of the self, transformed. But even transformation has its limits, because the leaves that bud will one day fall. And perhaps that's the final message behind the Green Man's silent gaze, a memento mori, a reminder that all flesh returns to the earth. His face, tangled in leaves, warns us that nature will one day reclaim our bodies. But from decay comes new life. Death is not the end, but part of the divine cycle. So what do you see in this silent, leafy face? A forgotten god, a hidden message from the Masons, or a mirror reflecting something inside us all? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey into forgotten folklore, don't miss the chilling tale behind the magpie rhyme One for Sorrow, a warning wrapped in verse, and perhaps something darker beneath. See you in a future video.
Yes, you will, bitch. This one.
Have you ever wondered if the innocent-sounding rhymes we've all grown up with might hide a deeper, darker meaning? One for Sorrow is one such rhyme, where a simple counting of...
I've never heard One for Sorrow. I've never heard it. Never even heard of it.
magpies might conceal ancient superstitions, folklore, and even witchcraft. Join me as we unravel the eerie origins and unsettling theories behind this strange rhyme. Welcome back, Darklings. Before we explore its dark past, let's first revisit the most common version of this rhyme. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret, never to be told. Although traditionally used to count magpies spotted in nature, the rhyme is sometimes applied to other birds, such as crows, in regions where magpies are less common. At first glance, this might just seem like a quaint way to count magpies. But did you know this rhyme might actually be rooted in ancient beliefs about omens and superstitions, the origins of which might just surprise you? 1 for Sorrow was first recorded in Samuel Johnson and George Stevens's supplement.
A 1 for the money, 2 for the show, a 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. What was he trying to tell us? Elvis was trying to tell us something, guys.
To their 1778 edition of the Plays of William Shakespeare. This early version is much shorter and reads 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for death. The rhyme is thought to have originated from the ancient practice of interpreting bird behaviour as a form of divination. This fascination with birds is evident across various cultures. In ancient Rome, augurs interpreted the will of the gods by observing the flight patterns of birds. In medieval Europe, the crow and raven were often considered omens of death, believed to be messengers between the living and the dead. Fortune-telling and the reading of omens became especially widespread between the 5th and 15th centuries, a period when superstition was deeply embedded in everyday life. In a world marked by uncertainty, frequent plagues, famines, and wars, people sought to predict the future through various methods, such as reading omens, interpreting dreams, and consulting astrologers. Numbers played a significant role in these practices, with certain numbers believed to hold particular power or significance. For instance, an 11th century manuscript notes that a dream occurring on the first night of the new moon foretells joy, while a dream on the 11th night is considered harmless, and whatever is dreamed on the 7th night will come to pass after a period of time. Other everyday occurrences, like sneezing, were also counted and interpreted. If a man sneezed twice, it was seen as a sign of good luck or success in business, but sneezing once or 3 times was considered an ill omen. Interestingly, a rhyme somewhat similar to 1 for sorrow, but about sneezes, was collected and published in the 18th century. Once a wish, twice a kiss, 3's a letter, 4's something better. There are other rhymes believed to have also originated from this period's superstitions, such as the daisy petal plucking rhyme, he loves me not. You might find it surprising that such superstitions thrived in a God-fearing society. However, the medieval church largely dismissed omens and fortune-telling as harmless. As early as the 5th century, St. Augustine had argued that any perceived connection between an omen and a resulting event was mere coincidence. His skepticism was echoed in many other medieval texts, suggesting that while the church regarded these beliefs as foolish, it did not consider them dangerous at that time. 1 for sorrow, like many folk traditions, was likely passed down orally for generations before being written down. In rural communities with low literacy rates, oral tradition played a key role in preserving cultural beliefs. The rhyme's absence in print until the 18th century follows a common pattern for nursery rhymes and folk songs, as earlier literature prioritised more formal religious texts and the lives of the elite. Folk rhymes and traditions were often dismissed as trivial and unimportant by scholars and publishers. It wasn't until the 18th and 19th centuries, with the rise of antiquarian interest and the Romantic movement's celebration of folk culture, that these traditions were finally collected and published. But the rhyme's journey doesn't end with medieval superstitions. As history moved into darker times, the rhyme's interpretation took on a more sinister tone. In the 16th and 17th centuries, during the height of the witch hunts in Europe, magpies were believed to be witches in disguise or their familiars. The magpie's ability to mimic human speech and its natural chattering, which can sound like laughter, likely contributed to these fears. Additionally, magpies are highly intelligent birds, and their cunning behaviour could have led to them being viewed with suspicion. Their plumage also likely played a role in these beliefs. In Christian symbolism, white is often associated with purity and holiness, while black represents evil and the devil. Thus, the magpie's distinctive black and white colouring could be seen as a physical representation of evil corrupting good. An early 16th century text even states that when magpies chatter upon a house, it is a sure sign of evil tidings happening within. These beliefs might have roots in Christian folklore. Magpies were viewed as symbols of vanity and dissipation, cursed among the crow family for not wearing completely black plumage in mourning after the crucifixion. It was also said that the magpie was the only bird not to enter Noah's Ark. Instead, it sat on top, laughing while the world was drowned. Similarly, in Scottish folklore, magpies were considered so evil that each bird was believed to carry a drop of the devil's blood under its tongue. The evolving cultural climate increasingly linked folk beliefs with heresy and witchcraft. As the church and authorities cracked down on any unorthodox practices, traditions like counting omens or signs to predict the future came under suspicion. What was once seen as harmless folklore could now be viewed as evidence of witchcraft. During the height of the witch hunts, anyone practicing folk divination or associated with these traditional beliefs risked being accused of witchcraft and faced severe consequences. This period of intense fear and suspicion caused many folk traditions to be altered or suppressed. The rhyme may have survived by evolving to reflect these new fears, blending old superstitions with newer, more sinister interpretations. These sinister beliefs are reflected in longer versions of the rhyme, which began to appear in print in the 1800s, claiming to be gathered from oral tradition. These versions included lines that invoked fear of evil, such as a variant that extends the rhyme with the lines 8 for heaven, 9 for hell, and 10 for the devil's own self. Another version recorded by James Orchard Halliwell includes 1 for anger, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for a birth, 5 for rich, 6 for poor, 7 for a witch, I can tell you no more. These darker additions to the rhyme suggest a Christianization of the original folk beliefs and evoke the intense fear of witches and the supernatural that gripped society during that era. This may explain why, in English tradition, it's customary to greet a single magpie with a salutation to ward off the bad luck it is believed to bring, a kind of countercurse to its association with witchcraft or evil. A well-known greeting still used today is, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie. How are Mrs. Magpie and all the other little magpies?" This implies the presence of more magpies, thereby neutralising the misfortune linked to seeing just one. In Wales, upon seeing a single magpie, it was customary to recite, "Devil, devil, I defy thee, magpie, magpie, I go by thee," often accompanied by spitting on the ground. Another tradition recorded in southern England involved making the sign of the cross while saying, "I cross the magpie crosses me, bad luck to the magpie, and good luck to me." These sayings may have originated as a kind of magic spell or counter-curse to the magpie during times when the fear of witches was rampant. The ritualistic gestures, spitting on the ground or making the sign of the cross, paired with the spoken words, create a sense of protection or defiance intended to ward off evil. This evolution over time, influenced by folk traditions, Christian beliefs, and the fear of witches, has likely left us with the rhyme we know today, charming, yet still deeply rooted in superstition and fear. Based on the evidence we've explored, these seem like the most plausible origins of the magpie rhyme, but we may never know for certain. But what do you think? Do you agree with these theories? Or do you have your own ideas about where this rhyme came from? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if your thirst for nursery rhyme origins still lingers, be sure to subscribe and explore the rest of my channel. See you in a future video. In the shadowy realm of nursery rhymes, where whimsy meets wonder, Hey Diddle Diddle, the Cat and the Fiddle, shrouds itself in an aura of mystic allure. This age-old verse, which on the surface appears to be a mere flight of fancy, conceals a myriad of hidden meanings and veiled origins. Behind the facade of a playful cat's frolic and the haunting notes of the violin, there exists a tantalizing mosaic of mysteries and concealed secrets. Brace yourselves, for within the cryptic folds of Hey Diddle Diddle, a tantalizing riddle beckons those daring enough to decipher its elusive symbolism. Welcome back, Darklings, to the Resurrectionists, where we breathe life into history, delve into ghostly realms, and explore everything that goes bump in the night. If you haven't joined our weird and wonderful family yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because trust us, you won't want to miss a single spine-chilling update. Hey Diddle Diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. This strange nursery rhyme's origins is thought to trace back to at least the 16th century, and there are even references hinting at its existence in some form for over 1,000 years. In early medieval illuminated manuscripts, for example, the imagery of a cat playing a fiddle is very popular. The third line of the rhyme is where the British expression "over the moon" originated, meaning joyful elation, which only adds to the intrigue. Yet the precise beginnings of this rhyme continues to elude us, shrouded in a veil of captivating theories. On the surface it seems like nonsense, a mere playful rhyme with no apparent meaning. But what if, lurking beneath its whimsical facade, lies a hidden code? One tantalizing theory dares to suggest that it is far from nonsense. Instead, it conceals a secret map. Picture this, a humble farmer ploughing his fields, the weight of a bountiful harvest resting on his shoulders. For him, timing is everything. Planting the seeds too soon or too late can spell doom for the year's crops. But what if, hidden within a whimsical rhyme, lay the key to unlocking the mysteries of the night sky? Enter the theory, one that weaves together the fabric of farming and celestial wonders. It suggests that this peculiar rhyme is, in fact, a star chart. Each line corresponds to a constellation, like pieces of a celestial puzzle. The cat becomes Leo, the fiddle transforms into Lyra, the cow takes on the form of Taurus, the little dog is none other than Canis Minor, Apollo's bowl becomes the dish, and the spoon is the Big Dipper. But how does this rhyme aid our farmer in his quest for the perfect planting time? It's simple. Once a year, when all these celestial characters gather near the moon in the night sky, it's the telltale sign that the time has arrived to sow the seeds in the field. In an era where literacy was a luxury, and books bestowed upon only a fortunate few, the precious treasury of skills, wisdom, and calendar dates all had to be memorized. Within this enchanting rhyme, we glimpse a potential masterpiece of memorization, reminiscent of the songs schoolchildren today commit to memory to remember important information, such as their ABCs or times tables. Hey Diddle Diddle, with its catchy rhythm and playful verses, could have been the perfect vessel for planting knowledge of the night sky deep within the mind of the farmers that needed it. This theory, while captivating, is far from proven. It is a recent hypothesis into the rhyme's origins, and demands further investigation to unravel its accuracy. But it is a fascinating idea, a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring magic of stories intertwined with the stars. When delving into the intriguing origins of nursery rhymes, a natural path of inquiry leads us to historical scandals and pivotal events, and we may find a clue in the word diddle, which is a curious choice of lyric. One meaning is to cheat or swindle someone so as to deprive them of something rightfully theirs. It is this sinister word that leads some to ponder whether the origins of this rhyme might be entwined with the tragic tale of a betrayed queen, a sovereign whose world crumbled in a devastating whirlwind of heartbreak and shame. Within a dimly illuminated chamber, on a cold winter morning in the year 1518, an air of anxious anticipation enveloped Catherine of Aragon. She had reached the 8th month of her pregnancy, and so had embarked upon her lying-in, a period of quiet withdrawal from the court, a retreat from the world itself. Behind the closed doors of the chamber, men dared not tread, for her private rooms were a sanctuary forbidden to them. In the hushed stillness, only women quietly ventured, serving her every need. Tapestries cloaked the windows, shielding the chamber from the outside world, their threads intricately woven to conjure a profound darkness that cast the room into a timeless twilight. Only a solitary window remained ajar, allowing a mere whisper of fresh air and faint light, lest the mother's eyes be afflicted by the blaze beyond. Crucifixes and sacred relics adorned her chamber, offering solace and spiritual fortitude, striving to replicate the ambience of a womb's embrace, warm, dark, and serene. But the cruel hand of fate moved swiftly. No sooner had she retreated to her concealed chamber than the agonizing grip of contractions overcame her. She underwent the agonizing ordeal of labor, only to birth a daughter who never tasted the breath of life. The unfathomable depths of grief and sorrow gripped Catherine's heart. This stillborn daughter marked the culmination of her childbearing journey. As the first wife of Henry VIII, she had birthed multiple children, but all had died in early infancy, with only one lone surviving daughter. The weight of her inability to bestow upon her husband a male heir bore down heavily on her soul. This was her final opportunity, and it had now slipped from her grasp. King Henry became consumed with the idea that God was punishing him. The story's complexity started years before, with Catherine of Aragon marrying Henry's older brother Arthur when they were both just 15 years old. Tragically, Arthur fell seriously ill and died just 3 months into their marriage. Henry, in due course, took Catherine, his brother's widow, as his wife, and their union blossomed with many years of happiness. But the heartache of losing so many children and the persistent absence of a male heir to the throne left Henry with the haunting notion that God disapproved of his choice of spouse. Therefore, when the young and captivating Anne Boleyn assumed the role of Catherine's lady-in-waiting in the early 1520s and steadfastly refused to share a bed with Henry until they were wed, the king's mind was made up. Catherine had to go. As a country of devout Roman Catholics, divorce was not an option. Henry's only escape lay in the examination of a fateful question. Had Catherine's prior marriage to his brother Arthur been consummated? With her defiance and his obsession, their lives spiraled into a relentless battle of wills. Catherine's courage became her armor as she endured a long and emotionally painful ordeal, cross-examined in court as Henry tried to prove the invalidity of their marriage. The Queen was questioned in humiliating detail about her sexual activity with Arthur, which she denied to the bitter end. She could have surrendered, accepted her fate, and faded into obscurity. But a potent blend of piety and unyielding spirit propelled her to resist, even as the world shifted around her. In the heart-wrenching conclusion of events, Catherine's 23-year marriage to King Henry was finally annulled in 1533. Stripped of her royal standing, she faced exile from the court and the merciless separation from her only surviving child, Mary. This cruel twist of fate meant Catherine would never see her beloved daughter again.
They did Catherine dirty as shit, dude. That was so fucked up. Henry VIII was fucked up, dude. Fucked up. Remember that Showtime series, The Tudors? That was pretty well done. It's too bad the main guy wound up getting hammered at the Amex Lounge at 7 a.m. and saying the N-word over and over. Outstanding. I love that. It sounds like every chat on the internet. Look how much of a springboard it wound up being for Henry Cavill, for instance. Is that the one with Marjorie? Is that one? I don't think I've ever watched that show, but I think I've had some of the shorts scroll past my YouTube stuff. You know what I mean? Is that show? Okay. And good morning, Bonds. It's good to see you. And Dawn. Good morning, Dawn and Bonds. Good morning. And...
Fuck you, Dion's bathtub.
Of course.
Never ceased in referring to herself as the rightful true Queen of England and Henry's lawful wife by divine right. Until her death, she signed her name Catherine the Queen, and in her last letter to Henry, she addressed him as my most dear lord, king, and husband.
Thank you, Lemmy.
Ending with the line.
This cockshot's for you.
Thank you so much, Astro. You're the fucking man.
That's the thing, Smurf King.
Thank you, dude. Oh, she played Anne Boleyn? Okay, that's right, that's right. I've seen one of the shorts that comes across my YouTube scrolls a lot is the one where I guess she's dead, but he's old aged and he's like hallucinating his wives coming to talk to him or some shit like that. It looks pretty cool.
Mine eyes desire you above all things. It was this unwavering loyalty that garnered her the nickname Catherine la Fidèle, which translates to Catherine the Faithful. Yet, it doesn't require much imagination to draw a subtle link between this name and the cat and the fiddle.
Good morning,
Furthermore,
Dropkick.
Catherine found herself cruelly diddled out of her rightful title and position. In the cryptic verses, the dish absconding with the spoon might symbolise Anne Boleyn's audacious run for power, a symbolic theft of the king and throne itself. As for the other animals in the rhyme, they could potentially serve as veiled references to the myriad of forgotten characters who once populated the tumultuous court of Henry VIII, their stories now fading into the mists of history. As the first wife of Henry VIII, Catherine held a special place in the hearts of devoted Catholics who saw her as the true Queen of England. She was deeply loved by her people for her unwavering faith and dedication. Interestingly, in the years that followed her annulment, many taverns with the name The Cat and Fiddle popped up. Some suggest that these taverns might have been a coded show of support for Catherine and her religion. However, it's important to note that this connection is based on indirect evidence and cannot conclusively prove that the taverns nor nursery rhyme Hey Diddle Diddle was created as a tribute to Catherine. However, one theory worthy of consideration is connected to those cat and fiddle public houses. In the past, these establishments often hosted a traditional pub game named Tip Cat, involving a short length of wood known as a cat. The cat is hit with a larger stick to send it flying into the air, at which point the player attempts to hit it a distance with the larger stick while it is still in the air. In one version...
AJ, I did not see you there in a sea of red. Good morning, the lingerer. A lingerer, man. Lingerer. And good morning.
The batter tries to round the bases before the fielder retrieves the cat and throws it back to home base. Earlier versions of the game are based on guessing the distance that the cat is hit, scoring points according to the number that comes up on a four-sided cat, and running from base to base on a large circle while the cat is being retrieved. It is a very early pub game, dating to at least the 17th century, that many years later, through different evolutions,
Thank you, Lemmy.
became cricket,
This cockshot's for you.
Thank you again, Astrobot.
That's the thing, Smurf King.
You are a fucking king. You the king.
It's
The
not
Smurf Gang.
uncommon for famous nursery rhymes to have their origins in traditional or musical games, making it a plausible notion that Hey Diddle Diddle might be rooted in such a practice. Diddle can mean to pass time aimlessly or unproductively, which would fit with game playing. Fiddles were commonly played at taverns to accompany games, singing and merriment. In this interpretation, the line, "The little dog laughed to see such sport," takes on a dual significance. On one hand, it may signify the sheer enjoyment of witnessing a spirited game in progress. Alternatively, it could allude to the virtue of sportsmanship, emphasising the importance of playing fairly and with good humour. Delving further, the mention of the moon in the rhyme might cleverly evoke the image of the expansive circular bases that players enthusiastically...
Maybe it's a euphemism for titty. God damn it. Hello? Hello? Am I back? All right, I'm back. I'm back. We're back. We're totally back. We're so back.
To enjoy.
I did, Gathan. A euphemism for titty fucking and or... Oh, I don't even remember what I said. Oh, shit. You need a light? Trade me. The blue one. I think I got a few more off of it. Just keep that one. Just keep it.
Their meal before the plate is whisked away by the innkeeper. It's a captivating possibility that adds a layer of depth to this age-old rhyme. Many outlandish origin theories have been put forward to explain the Hey Diddle Diddle nursery rhyme through the ages, including fantastical connections to ancient Greek phrases and the worship of Egyptian deities. One intriguing theory from history involves England's Queen Elizabeth I and her court. Queen Elizabeth had a playful nickname, the Cat, because she liked to toy with her ministers. The little dog in our tale may refer to Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, who Queen Elizabeth considered marrying. She even called him her little lapdog at times. As for the dish and the spoon, according to some sources, the courtier responsible for carrying ceremonial dishes at important state dinners was sometimes nicknamed the dish, and the spoon referred to a lady-in-waiting who had the risky job of tasting the Queen's food to make sure it wasn't poisoned. Some speculate whether a secret love affair might have blossomed between the staff known as the dish and the spoon to inspire the line of the rhyme. However, the dish and the spoon may refer to two different characters of the royal court, for behind the grandeur and formality, a hidden romance was brewing. In the heart of Tudor England, where the palace walls concealed secrets darker than the night, a thrilling tale of forbidden love and royal betrayal unfolded. The formidable Queen Elizabeth I was set to embark on a grand hunting trip, but within the stone chambers of her court, a clandestine plot was underway. Lady Catherine Grey, with hair as fiery as her spirit, feigned toothache, for she harboured a secret engagement that could spell treason. Catherine, aged just 18, dared to defy the decree that bound her heart. To marry without the monarch's consent was to dance on the precipice of doom, yet she knew the Queen's blessing would never grace her union. For her betrothal to Edward Seymour, the first Earl of Hertford, threatened to rewrite the lines of succession to the throne. Under the cloak of Elizabeth's absence, Catherine embarked on a perilous journey to the Earl's estate. Edward's sister Jane stood as witness to their union, and a hushed ceremony sealed their fate. In the flickering candlelight, passion ignited their souls as they spent a stolen evening together. But as the night waned, Catherine slipped back away to the court, her heart heavy with the weight of her treacherous secret. In the following months, their love blossomed in the shadows, concealed from prying eyes. Amid stolen glances and fervent embraces, they defied fate itself. But whispers of Hertford's attention towards Catherine reached the ears of Sir William Cecil, the Secretary of State. Concerned that Hertford's affections would disrupt the royal order, he suggested an overseas journey, a command veiled in suggestion. The Duchess, mother to Hertford, lent her voice to this decree, hoping to secure a noble match for her son favoured by the Queen. With no choice but to obey, Hertford agreed to depart, leaving behind his love-stricken bride. Catherine's heart bore a heavy secret. She suspected she carried the fruit of their passion within her. Uncertain and torn, she grappled with the decision to reveal their forbidden union to the Queen. But a tragic turn of events diverted her thoughts. Her dear friend and now sister-in-law Jane fell gravely ill and was lost. Grief engulfed Catherine, casting a shadow over her heart. But as the months passed, Catherine's pregnancy could no longer be concealed. She had no choice but to reveal her secret to the enraged Queen. Elizabeth's fury raged like a tempest, her royal bloodline threatened by Catherine's transgression. Arrested and sent to the Tower of London, Catherine awaited her fate. Hertford, summoned back from Europe, also found himself imprisoned in the Tower upon his return. Even Hertford's mother distanced herself from her.
Well, lots of Henrys. It's like too many, probably. Like, they should have retired that fucking name in the 1800s, probably.
Her unruly child, pleading loyalty to the irate Queen. Amid the gloom of imprisonment.
Well, well, well. Look what the cat dragged in, motherfucker.
Good morning. Or after. No, it's still morning in Minnesota. It's still morning. It's brunch. It's brunch. But hello. I am going to make a big deal about this because I fucking miss you, dude. It's good to see your face. You see my nose turning red? Don't look at it.
Catherine gave birth to a healthy son.
Me too, dude. Me too. Me too. I think we both gut reacted with emotion. I'm a girl, though. No, I get it. No, I totally get it. I understand. I've had a lot of time to think and shit, you know? There are better ways I could have handled shit. I could have not immediately reacted. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, too. I think about you a lot, dude.
Christened Edward on the 21st of September, 1561. Although the Queen's stern command demanded their separation, even the unyielding fortress of the Tower of London couldn't extinguish the flames of love that burned within Catherine and Hertford's hearts. The prison guards, moved by the palpable depth of their affection, chose to defy her orders. It was an act of compassion, for they witnessed the unbreakable bond that bound the couple together. 2 years later, a second son came into this world, as a testament to the enduring love that defied the shackles of royal wrath and imprisonment. Yet their love was doomed. As news of a second son reached the ears of Queen Elizabeth, her wrath knew no bounds. She ordered the couple's separation miles apart, and levied a staggering fine of £15,000 on Hertford, equivalent to £3.5 million today. They would never meet again. Catherine, confined to her prison, died in 1567 at the tender age of 27. Her pleas for Hertford's release on her deathbed fell on deaf ears. It is said that she perished with a broken heart, leaving behind a love story that dared to defy the crown and ignited the pages of history. Could it be that the ill-fated romance of Lady Catherine Grey serves as the embodiment of the dish and spoon in our rhyme? This intriguing possibility further strengthens our theory that the origins of this enigmatic verse may indeed be intertwined with the court of Queen Elizabeth I. It's a poignant tale, yet the nursery rhyme's connection to it remains shrouded in obscurity, lacking concrete evidence. If we are to look for hard evidence beyond the familiar printed rendition we recognise today, a rare historical reference in a play by Thomas Preston dated back to 1569 may hold a clue. It reads, "They be at hand, sir, with stick and fiddle. They can play a new dance called Hey Diddle Diddle." Another possible reference is in Alexander Montgomery's book of poetry, The Cherry and the Sleigh, from 1597. "But since you think it an easy thing to mount above the moon, of your own fiddle take a spring, and dance when you have done." Both of these early printed versions undeniably suggest a dance, which possibly served as the genesis of the nursery rhyme. It's conceivable that the remaining lines of the modern rhyme we recognise today evolved to harmonise with the music that once accompanied this dance. However, it's essential to tread cautiously, as the resemblance between these texts and the rhyme could be purely coincidental, raising doubts about their true connection. One last theory is that the rhyme might have served as a simple inventory of essentials within a poor household: a cat to catch vermin, a dog for protection, a cow for milk, a dish and spoon for food, and a fiddle for musical entertainment. While each one of these origin theories holds merit, the enduring mystery surrounding this rhyme persists. Many sources conclude that it is just a playful, nonsensical wordplay with no deeper meaning. The answer remains elusive, leaving room for interpretation and speculation. But what do you think? Leave us a comment and share your thoughts.
I think such is life. Such is life, dude. And I can kind of parallel that with my views on the afterlife, if you will. It's really cool to ruminate on where the origin story comes from, you know, or where it all will end. That we just kind of, after a lifetime of wondering or researching and listening to other people's fucking opinions about it, we could just comfortably land on, I don't know, it all just seems like nonsense and I'm just here for the ride. I think that's the long and short of it. Truly.
Grab his dick and twist it!
Twist his dick. Give him the old dick twist. Speaking of twisting dicks.
Grab his dick and twist it!
Oh, God, I'll twist his dick. This is an MMA fight, dude. But I'm going to go twist today's dick, as it were, if you will. I've got some stuff and things that I got to do and stuff. So I'm going to go do them. Erie. I got to go see a man about a horse. And then we're just going to, I don't know. We'll do it. We're doing it. It's good to see you, Crack Babies. I sent you a link to the Discord. I actually sent you a link to 2 Discords. We have, me and Astro have kind of cultivated a Discord called Nowhere Land, and we convene. Okay, cool beans. We convene every Sunday. This is an ad. We convene every Sunday in Nowhere Land. We're doing it. We're having it. It doesn't exist. Don't pretend you didn't even hear what I said. You didn't see anything.
Just